Welcome to Try Friend Heroes, a Legend of Zelda podcast. I'm Ellen.
I'm Kayla.
And I'm Kazum.
Yay. And today we're talking about Echoes of Wisdom.
Yay.
Mm-hmm.
Yay. I said it in our, first impressions episode, but I definitely didn't think we'd be back here so soon. Talking about a Zelda game.
Yeah. Well,
but I don't know why I didn't think that.
I do like Nintendo's new habit of being like, look at this cool new game. It comes out tomorrow.
Yeah, in like a month.
Yeah.
Or maybe like less than 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of nice. I guess like with a game like Tears of the Kingdom or whatever though, or like a mainline game, they probably like want to have hype.
Mm-hmm.
But then like I feel like they don't want to have the pressure of like I know like so many, I feel like Breath of the Wild was like, or not Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom was like delayed a lot because of COVID. So they're like, we're definitely still working on it. Definitely. Everyone calm down for like 3 years.
Yeah.
You guys are quiet today. What's happening? I don't understand. We already had all our small talk about the Pokemon trading card game.
It's been a while. Do we normally start with a summary? I don't even remember what we do anymore.
So normally, okay, so what I do is I have a quick summary and then I give stats and then we segue to Kayla's real summary. So my quick summary I said was Zelda and Tri team up to mend the rifts and save Hyrule from impending doom. Anyway.
Who the F is Tri?
Yeah. Don't ask questions. This is like every Zelda game. You're in a new Zelda world. Except for, like, Breath of the Wild and, like, whatever, Majora's Mask, where it's, like, direct continuation from the last game. But, like, did I say Breath of the Wild again? Tears of the Kingdom. Tears of the Kingdom and Majora's Mask, where it's, like, literally a direct continuation from the last game. But, yeah, no. Zelda, Tri is some rando, right? Anyway.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is that I looked up how many sales there were so far. I didn't see like a worldwide, but in Japan the game has sold 288,879 physical copies as of the week of October 27th. So last week, as of the time of recording. So that was interesting. But you know what was most interesting about those the sales report that I saw? There were still sales of Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing was still the 17th out of 20th top selling game in Japan. And I was like, damn, that game's been out for so long. It's already sold like 9 million copies and people are still buying it. Anyway, and this is physical copies too. Because like
Wow.
they don't track like digital the same way. So several thousand were sold last week in Japan. Anyway, I just thought that was an interesting tidbit that I saw. Anyway, this is where we seamlessly segue to Kayla and our normal plan for our podcast where we then talk about the story of the game. That's what we do.
And we're doing so
I'm
well.
off to a great start emceeing today, even though we had like a really natural first impressions episode where we were just like gabbing the whole time and it was great. Anyway, so seamless segue to you.
Structure and stuff.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what to do with myself.
Echoes of Wisdom begins with a familiar scene. The Princess of Hyrule held captive by the Demon King, while a young hero clad in green comes to the rescue. But things soon take a turn after Link defeats his foe. The beast who appeared to be Ganon turns into a strange purple substance and disappears in a burst of darkness, leaving behind his spear. And as Link steps forward to help Zelda, a purple rift suddenly and rapidly begins to spread from the weapon, engulfing Link. But before he fully succumbs, he manages to fire an arrow at the crystal imprisoning Zelda, weakening it enough for her to break free. A flicker of golden light descends from above, catching Zelda's attention. She follows it over to Link's discarded cloak and picks it up, but she has little time to consider this before the rift begins to expand once more. Following the golden light, Zelda runs and barely manages to escape the rift. Shaken, Zelda backs away from the rift and soon catches sight of Hyrule Castle in the distance, realizing she isn't too far from home. A pair of soldiers find her and guide her safely back to the castle. The people of Castletown are relieved to see their princess safe, as she had been missing for an entire week. They were beginning to fear she had been stolen away by the rifts, like so many others. Zelda briefly greets her people, but must hurry on to speak with her father, the king, about what has happened. She tells her tale, and the two, along with the king's advisors, General Wright and Minister Left, discuss the dire state Hyrule has been in, with more rifts appearing than ever, stealing away more and more people and spewing out strange, dangerous monsters across the land. But before they can execute any plans to counter this great threat, another rift suddenly opens right in the throne room behind the king and begins to spread. The king, without a moment of hesitation, throws his daughter to safety, but he and his advisors are unable to escape the rift. And what's worse, the rift soon spits out dark echoes of the three, and this dark copy of the king summons the guards and accuses Zelda of being the one behind the creation of the rifts, ordering her imprisonment.
So rude.
I know, right?
Yeah.
The guards are startled by this, but they obey their apparent king's orders, and Zelda is soon locked away in the dungeon. But fortunately, she isn't alone for long. The golden light that helped her before finds her in her cell and reveals its true form. A small, glowing, bell-like creature that introduces itself as Tri. Tri explains that they were also captured by the Ganon monster, and that they followed Zelda here. They've heard the imposter king ordering for Zelda's execution, and wanted to warn her that she was in danger. Tri suggests that, together, they can save those who were taken into the rift so that they can reveal the truth. And to this end, Tri creates a magical staff for Zelda called the Tri-Rod. This staff allows Zelda to create echoes of various objects and monsters in the world, and using its power, she is able to escape her cell. Near the dungeon's exit, Zelda runs into her loyal nursemaid Impa, who fortunately believes her tale and helps her escape the guards. She suggests that Zelda hide her identity by wearing Link's cloak and directs her to meet with her brother, Luberry, who lives near Southern Village. As they make their way there, Tri explains that rifts have always appeared occasionally in the world, and that Tri and others like them had the job of mending those rifts, but that Tri alone doesn't have the power to mend the large ones appearing now. And unfortunately, when they arrive at Luberry's house, it has been half swallowed by yet another rift. Zelda and Tri explore the area until they find a spot where Tri is able to create an entrance into the rift, and Tri can sense some of their friends trapped within. Zelda and Tri enter the rift, ending up in the Still World, a strange place where the stolen pieces of the world drift through the void in haphazard chunks, and the stolen people sit petrified, frozen in the moment of terror when the rift pulled them in. They even find the petrified minister left here, and Tri says that if they can free their friends and mend the rift, she'll be returned to normal. Zelda and Tri press onward through the stilled ruins and eventually encounter another familiar figure, Link. Except not really. This Link is another Echo, and it attacks Zelda on sight, manages to defeat it and at least behind Link's sword, which allows her to channel some similar fighting powers in a pinch to go along with her Echoes. Using these powers, she journeys deeper into the ruins, eventually encountering and defeating the monster at its center that was keeping Tri's friends imprisoned. Now freed, they join their powers with Tri's and mend the rift, restoring the pieces of the world that were swallowed up and returning the stolen people back to normal. Back in the regular world, Zelda and Tri meet up with Minister Left and catch her up on what has been happening, and they all agree to go to Luberry's house together. When they get there, they find Luberry in a bit of a state, unwilling to listen to them at first, as he frantically says he has to go save Link. He stops when he recognizes the cloak Zelda is wearing as Link's, and she tells him everything she knows about what has happened. In turn, he tells him a bit more about Link, about how he was pulled into a rift as a child, but managed to get himself back out, but the experience left him changed. He was no longer able to speak. But unlike others who were taken into rifts and lived to tell the tale, Link remembered everything about his time inside, and he became dedicated to fighting back against the rifts, defeating the monsters that emerged and trying to prevent others from being stolen away. Luberry, who has long researched the rifts, made Link's special weapons to assist in this. After a bit more discussion, Zelda and Tri decide to try and mend the other two large rifts that have appeared in Hyrule recently, hoping that they may find the king, the general, and Link within. These two rifts are located in the desert, where the Gerudo people live, and in Jabul waters, where the river and Caesar live. Both regions have been harmed badly by the rifts, their monsters and their sinister echoes wreaking havoc, but Zelda is able to help everyone with their troubles and free more of Tri's friends to mend the rifts. Though the king and Link are nowhere to be found in either rift, they do manage to find General Wright, and everyone meets back up at Luberry's house for a debrief. They decide that the only thing to do is tackle the last large rift remaining, the one in Hyrule Castle. The guards there unfortunately don't believe that General Wright and Minister Left are the real deal and refuse to let them all into town. But the rift suddenly grows even larger as they argue, and Zelda is able to make it in the ensuing chaos. Tri creates an entrance into the rift, and the two work their way through the stilled Hyrule Castle. At its center, Zelda faces off against another Echo of Ganon, and though she defeats it, freeing Tri's friends and mending the rift, something else emerges before she can leave the Still World. A huge, formless mass of dark energy bursts through from the void and furiously attacks Zelda. But before it can make contact, someone else appears to fend it off. Link, the real one this time.
Yay.
Yay. The monster retreats, and Zelda reaches out for Link. He runs forward to take her hand, but he's suddenly captured in a crystal just like the one that had imprisoned Zelda, and something whisks him away deeper into the void. Back in the restored Hyrule Castle, Zelda reunites with her father and explains everything that's happened. The king praises her for all she's done and encourages her to rest for a while he clears up all the confusion caused by the Echo imposters. While Zelda sleeps, Impa thanks Tri for helping and protecting Zelda through this dangerous journey. And while Tri doesn't quite understand the whole concept of gratitude, they're glad that Impa is happy. When Zelda wakes, everyone meets up again to discuss what to do next. 3 more large rifts have opened up across Hyrule, and their locations, Eldin, Faron, and Lanayru, spark an idea in the king. He speaks of knowledge passed down through the royal family of the Prime Energy, an incredible power source left behind by the 3 goddesses, and those 3 regions are strongly connected to the goddesses. Could the rifts be targeting those places specifically? The king also mentions another legend passed down through the royal family, which says that a wise priestess and courageous hero will appear when evil strives for the Prime Energy. He believes that Zelda is that priestess, and that Link is quite possibly that hero. With this new knowledge, Zelda sets out to mend the 3 new rifts, rescue Link, and, together, stop the evil threatening the land. After each rift is mended, one of the goddesses speaks to Zelda and grants her their sanction, a symbol acknowledging her deeds, with all 3 sanctions being needed to open the path to the Prime Energy. They also tell her more about the one behind the rifts. Before the goddesses created the world, there was only a void. Life would sometimes start to form, only to be immediately snuffed out by the one who dwelled in the nothingness, a being known as Null. To contain Null's ceaseless hunger, the goddesses created the lands and skies around it. Since then, Null has continued to create rifts, attempting to break through and return the world to void. To counter this, the goddesses created the Tries to dissipate the rifts and keep balance. When she earns the last sanction, the goddesses tell Zelda to head for the ancient forest guarded by the sacred tree, where she will find the Prime Energy, and perhaps also the hero she's seeking. But before Zelda can go anywhere, a cloud of darkness suddenly appears and envelops her. It spits her out after a moment, and then an echo of Zelda herself emerges. It turns out this was Null's plan all along, to lure Zelda into obtaining the goddess's sanctions, and then copy her form, using it to obtain the Prime Energy for itself, a power that could reshape the world into nothingness once more. Zelda and Tri hurry to the forest, but it turns out that the Guardian, the Great Deku Tree, was successfully tricked by the Echo. Zelda follows after in time to see the Echo gain access to the Prime Energy, or as we better know it, the Triforce. But as it is wont to do when a selfish, unbalanced heart attempts to claim it, the Triforce splits into 3, with only one piece going to the Echo, one going to Zelda, and the last flying off into the void to seek out Link. The Echo furiously pursues that piece, saying it will deal with Zelda last. Zelda follows quickly after and finds the Echo confronting the imprisoned Link. Zelda fights and defeats the Echo, causing it to dissipate and flee into Null's main body. Zelda frees Link from the crystal, and the 2 enter Null's body for the final confrontation. After a hard-fought battle together, they reclaim the Prime Energy from Null, finally destroying it for good and freeing the last of the Tries. With the help of the Prime Energy, Tri and all their friends mend the last of the rifts. And then, with their purpose finally fulfilled, it's time to say goodbye. Tri explains to Zelda that her world will return to a state of peace now, and that Tri and the others will return to the goddesses to slumber. At first, Tri is a little confused over why Zelda doesn't seem entirely happy, but then they realize that they won't be together anymore, and that is a little sad. But Tri understands that feeling of gratitude now, and they thank Zelda for their time spent together before saying a final goodbye. Back in Hyrule Castletown, everyone reunites to celebrate the newly healed world, with all of Null's damage finally gone. Link even regains his voice, and as a tribute to her lost friend, Zelda puts the Tri-Rod in a place of honor in her room. The end.
Yay! I definitely wasn't sad. Wow. During Tri's little, cutscene.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is a lot sadder than I thought it would be. I've suddenly grown attached to you in the way you sit on Zelda's head when you're not moving around.
Yeah, Tri was endearing.
I love Tri's noises. Spoiler alert for later when we talk about sound effects and music.
Yeah.
I have a whole preparation of Tri's sound effects to listen to. But anyway, yeah, it was a cute game. I liked Null as a villain also in this game too.
He's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
The forms it took in the last battle.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Blight Ganons, kind of, from Breath of the Wild, but more abstract and creepy, because the Blight Ganons had human forms, you know? This is just a blob with hands, and it's this kind of open blob, and it kind of looks like the Tries. Yeah. It has those kind of shapes on its face, quote unquote, that are kind of like that. So it's an evil version of the Tries, you know? Yeah, it was cool. And also, it kind of made more sense of why the Tries exist and why there's constantly rifts and whatever. I felt the story was well tied together in the end, compared to like some other Zelda games we played where it's like, yeah, and then everything was fine or whatever, you know? Like, it was just here, the goddesses just existed or whatever. The powers always existed, you know? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like the story was like told nicely throughout too. Like a lot of times you get like a big like exposition dump at the end.
Yeah.
In Zelda games, but I feel like it was like you could sort of figure out like parts of it as you're going along and explain like parts of it at a time.
Because it starts with like, I'm trying, I have the power to mend rifts. And then it's like, oh, actually there's more of my kind here, and we can mend the rifts to get the big rifts together. And then once you start to get the sanctions, every time you get a sanction, the goddess tells you more of the story. So you get like little chunks of the main story where it's like the first one is like, first there was nothing, and then the goddesses created the land, but like Null was always there to try to take bits of stuff back. That's like the first part. And it's like then it elaborates more and more as you get the other two sanctions. So, and then at the end you get kind of like their final motivation. Although I feel like if you've played any Zelda game, you know the villain's motivation is almost always to get the Triforce, or the Prime Energy as it's called in this game. So it all makes sense. It all made sense in the end, I guess. Because I remember during our like first like initial impressions, I was like, I want to know more about what the fuck the tries are and stuff like that. So I got all the answers that I needed, basically.
So I always have my little list of characters. I think this is the first time Zelda is the first character on the list.
Yay. Zelda's not the one in the... I was just thinking while you were talking about your summary, I was like, I wonder how many times in how many Zelda games have the character been imprisoned in a crystal? Like, at least 3 or 4. Like, a good percentage of them, right?
Yeah. I liked getting to rescue Link from the crystal at the end.
Yeah, that was fun. I was like, haha, I'm the one. Hee hee, it's me. It's exciting that Zelda's first.
Yep.
I remember, like, especially Cosmo and I were complaining last game about the amount of that Zelda is like hidden in the first part of the game, and I was like kind of disappointed by that because it's a game about fucking Zelda. Like, she's the fucking protagonist. But it definitely gets better after you do the first 2 dungeons, and then you save the people who were sucked into the rift, and then their like evil doubles were accusing Zelda of creating the rifts. So after that part, you get a lot more recognition, and it's better. But yeah, and then you can get other outfits and stuff where you look more like Zelda, and it's nicer, I think.
Or
Link if you want. Yeah, or like a cat.
Yeah, I definitely played most of the game as a cat, and I got to the final dungeon. I was like, I should probably change back into a serious costume before these like serious cutscenes happen.
No, it would have been so great. I feel like the video game, because it used to be like you play video games and then they would only do like cutscenes with like one outfit sometimes, right? So it's like no matter what you were wearing, it would just like go back to a cutscene with like the normal outfit or whatever, right? Yeah. But I feel like now games are like so much more complex that they like don't. It's like they'll do the cutscene in whatever outfit you're wearing. So you can be like, I am a cat in my final fight against myself or whatever, you know?
Yeah. Weirdly, the first game I can remember doing that was Sonic Adventure 2. Where like you can get like upgrades that would be on your character, and then like they would like show up in the cutscenes and stuff, and we were being like, whoa. He's wearing that bracelet that I got to do the thing.
In the cutscene.
Yeah. But yeah, now it's pretty
standard.
Yeah.
I remember that I played the shit out of that game. And I remember, like, I don't know if it was that I had reset the game, so I lost all that, and then I saw cutscenes without them or something. But, like, I remember seeing that and, like, wait, what? That is weird. Why doesn't he have all this stuff, you know? And so, great game.
I haven't played a lot of Sonic. I can't comment. There's Try.
Try is very cute.
I like Try.
Yeah.
As a little fairy companion type friend.
Yeah, it's fun having a like classic Zelda companion again.
Yeah.
There's like the whole cutscene you described when they go back to the castle at the end and they're all like talking or whatever. And then I feel like there's no audio and there's no dialogue. So it's all, you can interpret whatever you want, I guess, from this. But I feel like they ask where Tri is, because there's like a part where they're all like kind of looking around, and Zelda explains that Tri like went away or whatever, and everybody's kind of sad. And I thought that was cute.
Yeah, I like that, like, because of the rifts, more and more people like got to see Tri, and like and Tri kind of like started to like understand like people more, and started to get like invested in people's like little personal storylines.
Yeah.
Well, at the beginning, Tri was like, I don't get it. We're in a hurry. Yeah. But like at the end, like Tri was like worried about Conde, the Yeti guy, and and stuff.
Tri was like, oh, I feel scared about this, like toward the end. Yeah. Or whatever. I can't remember exactly, but like, going into the like, final area.
Yeah, they're like, is this what it feels like to be scared of something, or something like
that? Something like that. Like, it's gonna be okay.
It's okay there, little buddy.
I feel like this like game was very shoujo anime, with this like everything, every storyline is like, and then we all felt better because we mended our feelings, you know what I mean? Like, I'm saying that in a positive way. I feel like I'm saying it very flippantly, but like, it's just really funny that like Tri is like, oh, now I understand emotions better, which is like very shoujo anime storyline, I feel like, you know?
It's like the real rifts were in our relationships.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I thought that was going to be a bigger theme, because like with the Zoro, I was like, oh, they have a rift in the relationship. Oh, I see. But I don't think I saw very much more of that.
Well,
I think there's some like kind of unspoken, like the rift is symbolic of different things in like different regions.
Because for the Goron prince, it's all like the problem is with himself and his self-confidence, right? Or
that's
the
true,
leader, right? And it's like they with Zelda's help, he's able to gain self-confidence, and then with like with the first one, it's like with the Zora, it's like mending the two's relationship, and then with Conde
Gerudo,
or whatever, he's with the Gerudo.
I think it would probably be the relationship between the queen and her daughter, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, okay, yeah.
It's more understated, I feel like, in that one. And then there's like this Niku scrubs are all addicted to cotton candy. So they all get over their addiction. I was like, what is happening? I forgot about that.
I love the Deku scrubs.
Yeah.
I love that they all think they're like the coolest kids in town, and like call us like a bumpkin or whatever. Like,
yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know the hip place to be.
They're like, we love all this cotton candy that's actually spider webs. Like, gag me. That's the worst.
And the one that's like, I always loved smoothies.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was definitely my favorite. I was so glad to have them back.
I did enjoy the fact that their presence, because they're very like them, and then also Conde is like, they have their own whole like world going on that's like not, and like their whole thing, and you're just like, what the F, like when you get there.
Yeah, we don't get the Deku scrubs as a like sentient race a lot. They're usually just an enemy.
So.
Yeah.
And I like
except for that time that you transform into one. I mean,
yeah, Majora's Mask is the exception.
Yeah,
it often is.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. This game's actually kind of spooky too. Not unlike Majora's Mask, but definitely not as scary as Majora's Mask.
No, definitely not.
By leaps and bounds. But it had more of a spooky vibe, I feel like, even compared to like the gloom, you know, and like Tears of the Kingdom. I feel like even the still world's kind of different than that, and it's like everybody's like frozen in time and stuff. Like the depths is like I feel like the depths is a more like kind of like almost like another planet or like another world. Whereas the still world is like kind of creepier because, and there's creepy stuff down there, and like harder monsters and stuff, but like the still world's creepier because it's like an alternate version of the world, and there's like people are like stopped and they're like frozen and stuff, and like you said, they're like frozen in there like screaming or whatever. You know,
yeah, it's like the still world is like not meant to be like. It's like the depths feel like they're a natural place. It's just kind of corrupted.
Yeah.
But like the still world is just like not meant to exist. Like
I mean, I feel like that is a good way to describe it. And you feel like you're not supposed to be there. Like it's unnatural for you to be there, I guess, and for certain things to be there. They're all positioned in like an unnatural way. You get to walk on Jabu Jabu, for example. I was like, oh no.
It's like, oh, poor Jabu Jabu.
Jabu Jabu. Speaking of Jabu Jabu, I didn't expect to go inside another character in this game. I was like, I don't want to go inside Null. Do we have to do this? I'm like, I guess it makes sense. I guess that is where the Triforce like piece is, but do we really have to do this? At least it wasn't undulating.
Yeah, it was like organic, but more in a like microscopic level. Like it's like you were looking at like cells and stuff. Like
yeah, it does look like that. It's definitely not. It's not like nauseating like in Ocarina of Time.
Yeah. You get a lot of backstory for Link in this game since he's not the main character. Like, this is one of the ones where he's like actually canonically mute rather than it just being kind of the like silent protagonist trope.
But then he talks at the end. Everything's great.
I liked his little like his little like gestures to you when you're like working together in the end.
I was like, you don't have to bow every time we go through door. Like it's fine. I know how to. The first like one or two times I was like, that's cute, and then I was like, okay, like I know we're gonna go into the hallway together, like chill. It's a 2-player. I get it. I get what's happening, but it was charming. I also like the way that
he's like, thanks, bro.
Yeah. Like when you do the one thing where you have to like lift him up or something. Yeah, that was pretty funny. I was also like, you're doing all the hard work. I'm over here sucking on this other side of the room. So good luck to you. Impa was back in her like kind of classic Impa.
Yeah, old lady Impa.
Yeah, and then she has a brother or whatever. Question mark.
Yeah.
In this game,
there are 2 Sheikas in this game.
Yeah. And they have their like Sheikah technology or whatever, which is kind of like a trope now in Zelda games, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I feel like in Ocarina of Time, they're very all like kind of like ninja-y with their like secrets and their like ways, you know. But there's no like.
I feel like the Sheikah stones are basically the only like magic sort of thing.
Well, they gave the ocarina to Zelda's family, right? So like in Ocarina of Time, I thought it was like, or maybe it's passed down to the royal family. I don't remember, but like,
there's like stuff that has like the Sheikah symbol, even if they're not like explicitly like I think the Lens of Truth has it.
Yeah, that's right. And you get it in the village, don't you? Get it under the,
I think so. Yeah.
But still, it's all more like magic-y.
Yeah, I feel like they were more associated with like ancient secret like magical arts rather than ancient secret technology. But although it's sort of like magical technology. So,
I mean, in Zelda, magic is technology, and technology is magic. So but like
sufficiently advanced, blah blah blah.
Yeah, exactly. It's magic, magical technology. You do eventually get free the king and the ministers or whatever, so they like,
I appreciate their names right and left.
Left and right. Yeah. There's a lot of puns in this,
like spelled just slightly differently.
Yes.
I like the complicated relationship between Zelda and her father in the Breath of the Wild games, but it was nice to see it just they're just happy and supportive of each other.
Yeah.
I like that he like unthinkingly saves her from the rift when it opens up.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree that I enjoy their strained relationship in Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. However, he's just like, I need to trust you. Go out in the world. Do the thing. And I was like, yay. I'm doing it. Me and my little fairy buddy.
Yeah.
And my magic stick.
Oh, I love how appalled Try was when the Dekus were using the stick as a cotton candy stick.
It's like, ew, it's sticky. And I was like, oh.
Please get it back.
I mean, I think everything about that was like cute / gross, like the whole the whole time.
Yeah.
And of course it was Goma in the dungeon or whatever.
Gotta have
It's like,
Goma.
yes, a Goma. A Goma's here.
Mm-hmm.
It's also funny because I feel like it's also like kind of a throwback to Ocarina of Time because Goma is the
Oh yeah, with the Dekus.
with the
tree.
Deku. So in the Deku tree, the Deku scrubs give up the code to get to Goma, right? So
Yeah,
They call
and
it
they, like,
call her
Goma.
their queen. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's like a mix of like throwback enemies and bosses and just like new weird shit in this game.
They're like, you know what would be a good enemy? A goo blob. I mean, I guess there's technically a bunch of blobs and stuff. There's like a bunch of things from other games, but like there's no like real like choo-choo type thing. I mean, there's the old choo-choos,
Yeah.
but they call them something else.
Yeah, the
Zols.
Zols. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of like old 2D enemies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then
Enemies
also
in that
Lionel's, I
style.
guess.
Yeah,
Technically.
they're originally old
That's
2D
right, they're-
enemies. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, like Breath of the Wild is the first time they'd been in 3D, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
There weren't any in...
Yeah, there's like
There's,
one
like, the-
single Lionel, which I highly recommend getting the echo of.
I didn't do that. And then at the end, one of the like, where's the Dark Zelda's like calling enemies, it's one of the ones that she can like summon. I was like,
Yeah.
oh shit.
Yup.
I should have sought this. I should have sought out more echoes, maybe. But you know what, YOLO. And then I
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
used
the-
my. I had
the
like a
little-
white wolf host, and I was like, just go, my wolf minions, go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
the
pretty
like
strong. So.
the priest guy or something kind of like gives you a hint on where to find the Lionel.
Mm.
So I was like, I'm gonna go find it before I do the like last couple dungeons. It's like I think that will be helpful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, once I got the Lionel, I was like, yep, this is my go-to.
Go,
all
my
my-
minion.
It takes all my little triangles, but
They're pretty strong though, and they're fast too. Because like not all like enemies, they have like different cycle timing and stuff too. So.
Yeah.
yeah. Before I got the Lionel, I was using the like level 3 Lizalfos a lot. But every once in a
Yeah,
while,
that's
he'd
a
just
good
be
one.
like standing there. I'm like, dude, do something.
Stab.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you get like just in the wrong cycle, and they'd keep interrupting his attack, and I'm like, okay, I need to
yeah.
restart you. But
Yeah.
but the Lionel was pretty good because they're tough enough to tank attacks, so they wouldn't get staggered or anything. So
Yeah. Yeah, I found them good when there's enemies spread about and I need my minion to move around a lot. And then like the Dark Nut would be if they're all kind of clumped together.
Mhm.
And then I also used the level 3 or 4 or whatever it was, Bokoblin, I think it was.
Mhm.
Or
The one with
I
the
call them
sword and
Borblins.
stuff.
Yeah,
I
the
don't
sword
know.
and shield.
I think
Mob-
it were
Yeah.
Moblins, yeah.
Those were Moblins, yeah.
Moblins and Borblins in this game.
Yeah. So I used those guys a lot when I had enough for the big guys, my big guns.
One of the bosses, I can't remember which one it was. I used the ball and chain like a lot because it was able because it's like if it does get the mace like spinning enough, then it was like hitting it over and over again and like preventing the boss from attacking. I don't remember which one it was. So it's like if it can get the time in before it dies, it was
Yeah.
actually pretty
Yep.
helpful. But I don't think that
Yep.
would have worked well in that specific fight, like the Zelda fight. But I also then I was watching a playthrough of this because I was trying to find a piece of music from that part, and the other person also was just spamming like whatever they had. So I was like, okay, well,
Yeah.
I don't feel that bad. I was like, I see there's no tactic for this. It's just do whatever you can.
Yeah, it was alternating between like the Lionel and the like P hat because sometimes she'd be too high for the Lionel to hit.
I was trying to use, so I was using the White Wolfos because it generates more than one thing, so it can like take out because it calls more servant Wolfos. So and
Yeah, I was
then
wondering if it would
trying
do
to-
that as an echo, but I never actually tried it.
It did. It's
It's in my line all at that point, but yeah.
Yes, it does. So you get a couple of them to take out all the echoes that she creates, and then I would just turn into like just do the sword fighter form, and then like try to target her, which was kind of hard, and then hit her with arrows because she's like up in the air. Because I was like, I need this to end. You need to die faster. So that's what I tried to do. I mean, I made it through the battle, so I would describe it as successful, but it probably could have been more efficient.
Yeah, one thing I wish the game had like a stronger like flying enemy. Because I feel like
It was
I had
hard
to use
at that
a flying
point.
enemy, it would like. I mean, it was okay in that one because she would be on the ground sometimes. But like anytime I had to like beat something that was like at a distance, it would like I would just like have an electric key bashing into it like 10 times. Like,
You're like, go my
I used
crow
the wizards
army.
a lot for that.
Yeah, but they're slow. So like if you have
They are,
like
yeah.
like I think it was the ice area had a bunch of things like in the Hebrew mountain or whatever, or Holy Mountain area, whichever one it is. They had like ice keys or whatever, and then they move around so much faster than the whiz ropes do. That's okay, well, I'll wait for 20 minutes while you kill all the ice keys in here, I guess. Like it's a little annoying. But yeah, I do wish there was like some stronger flying enemy that was when they were only in the air and they had like a ice element or like a fire element. It was really tough. I feel like, or just like maybe not tough, but it took a long time.
Yeah.
We also had sort of the return of Dark Link in this game in the form of the Link Echoes.
Yes.
Yes.
Those are pretty tough. Like,
I think they were.
It could be, yeah.
That and then the Zelda Echo was also hard. I wonder which one was harder. I think the Zelda Echo is just hard because of the volume of enemies, like the volume of echoes that she creates. But the Links were tough.
Yeah, I think I had more trouble with the like first couple Links. I think by the third one I had strong enough echoes that it wasn't too big a deal. But
the bomb Link wasn't too hard. Yeah, the last one.
But, like the first couple, they're fast. They're good at like blocking you. And so like you have, and like early on, you don't have as many like echoes. So.
Not strong ones.
You can just rip his shield off and then he can't block.
With the with try.
Yeah.
Oh, I never tried that.
So I was watching a speed run and literally the room before Link, the puzzle is there's 4 statues, one of them has a shield. You grab it, you rip it off. It opens a door and Link's there with a shield holding. Yeah, I missed that, but apparently like that's what they're telling you to do. I know, and that's one of the things about this game that I really like is that there's just so many ways to approach it. There's ways where you're like, oh my god, what? Obviously, I should have done this. Obviously, and then I even watched 2 speedruns, both relatively close. I mean, this game just came out, so like they were just shortly after each other, and they both had different approaches to a lot of the fights. You know, one of them used the sea urchins, the spiky balls, a lot, and then one of them used the little spiders, especially in the final fight, because you don't have very many echoes if you're speedrunning. You know, you're basically through the first dungeon, and the reason is because you want them to aggro to something else and not you.
Yes.
And the spiders have more, like when you hit them they flip over, so like they last longer, but like so I don't know, it was just very interesting seeing the 2 different ways that the people were handling the same fights, you know.
Yeah, and it is an interesting tactic that like basically all enemies will like they'll aggro onto your echoes before you, almost always. I feel like maybe in the fight with Null, maybe that was the only like exception. I feel like
I think they generally go for what's closest, but if you put that in front of you, but if they're surrounding you, that's the problem. So you're in the middle of a bunch of enemies, then some might go for you, some might go for the echo. I think that's how it works.
Yeah, I can't tell, but definitely like putting a bunch of echoes between you and the enemy will always result in them attacking the echoes, right? So an echo that lasts longer, either because it's stronger, because there's like more of them, like the beetles that come out of the hill. Is that what you're talking about? Or like spiders or whatever? Then it will definitely allow you to like go and around and attack the thing or do other stuff. Take a nap, for example.
Yeah. I put my bed down a couple times during the fight with Null.
You can, like, if you want, or take a potion, have a smoothie or whatever. Yeah.
So for me, I found like the smoothies for me were most effective because I was running out of link power.
Energy. Yeah.
Annoying. And so I got a bunch of the ones that did that and that didn't heal as much. And then the final battle comes
then
along,
you don't use it. Yeah.
I literally like these potions are useless.
It's really funny because like I read the thing where it's like you're gonna have to give your weapons back to Link, and I was like, okay, cool, I'm gonna go leave and then make smoothies. And I made a bunch of smoothies, and I made like a bunch that had hearts, but then like maybe like a handful that had energy, and then I was like, oh yeah, right, fuck, I don't need these. Although I used like the tough mangoes, so they still had like
damage reduction,
so I still used them. But like I was like, oh yeah, I didn't have to do that. I guess I don't know why I was thinking that when I clearly read and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna have them. I
use smoothies fairly often in boss fights, but not really anywhere else.
Yeah, me too.
Because you don't really have as much time to take a nap.
The one boss fight where I really needed them was or not boss, but like mini boss, was like the fucking slime blob in Holy Mount Lanayru, where it splits up, and then there's like it splits up into smaller and smaller blobs, which I was like, oh yeah, of course that would happen because it's Zelda. I forgot. And then there's like 4 of them attacking you at once, and I was like, I'm gonna die. Like, I can't. I use so many smoothies. That one was kind of tough. I didn't really have a good strategy, I feel like. And then you had to like freeze them, which I figured out, but then I was like, I don't know what I can use to, like which thing is going to be effective. So like I used the Wizrobe, and then sometimes I would use like a Freezard for the smaller ones. But yeah, I found the Freezard
pretty effective.
For those for the blobs, because they're on the ground. I feel like
it took me a while to figure out like what I needed to do with that one, because I was like thrown off by the spot on its head. I thought you had to like hit that.
Yeah, I thought so. But then I was like, well, it's in a hot spring, so I feel like it must need to be frozen. But then it's like, I tried freezing it with something and it didn't work. And I was like, well, maybe I'm wrong. And then I like went and checked a guide, and I was like, no, I was right. I just need to find a different tactic. Like, yeah. Because that whole dungeon was like freezing stuff and unfreezing stuff. So I was like, well, that's probably the theme of this. If I've learned anything from Zelda, it's this.
I figured it after that, but I was like, what do you want from me? Because I'm like trying
what
to
hit
hit
want?
like what I thought was the weak spot.
It's like it is, but they didn't want you to hit it in that way, I guess. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I liked the main boss of that temple, the Yeti with the like helmet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sort of cool. Reminiscent of what the heck, the witches in.
Yeah. What are their names?
Penrova?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
There is
something like that.
It's like
Kome.
But there's also the other one of the other dungeons had like the 2-headed thing where it's like you have to freeze it and hit it with fire. I can't remember which game it was. It's in more than one.
Yeah, they've done a couple times.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, they've done variations on that a couple times in Zelda, but like the specific where it could like switch back and forth with like one enemy. 'Cause usually it's like a 2-headed enemy or something. When you do that, but
yeah, exactly. I felt like I didn't feel like any of the bosses were particularly hard. It was always like the links that were harder.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I didn't too hard. I think they're fun to figure out, like different like ways of approaching them. So.
Yeah, I think we were talking about like the moth thing, the sand one in the our like first impressions, where it's like you're like, oh, you're supposed to make him run into a statue, and none of us were like, yeah, I didn't I didn't do that.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And you can do a lot of different things, which is nice.
And like the first boss, the stone guy, where like you can like rip the thing out,
pull him apart.
And I was like, oh, I didn't do that. Like,
no.
The Goma, you don't even need to light his legs on fire. I think at one point he opens his eyes while he's on the wall, and you can just shoot it with an arrow.
That's what I did. So I would just wait. So I would light all the. I would try to burn up all the webs because it just slows you down if you have to run around, and then I would just wait for him to open its eye and then shoot it, and then it like falls down and then you can attack it more. I feel like something like that. Yeah. Good old Goma. Good old reliable eye to shoot at.
Yep.
In the Zelda game.
Yep. Volvagia is back.
I know, I was really excited, although that was kind of an annoying
yeah.
fight. It wasn't as good as the Volvagia from Ocarina, I feel like.
Yeah.
But it's fine. Because I liked the whole, like, because in the Volvagia fight in Ocarina of Time, it's kind of like whack-a-mole, where it like comes out of the holes, right? And you have to hit it. And this time it's just like it popped up and then like spewed fire at you. And I was like, well, like, I'll just keep trying to shoot at it. Like, I don't really know. I just felt like there wasn't a very strong tactic that I could do.
I forgot to look this up, but it seemed like it was wearing a necklace.
Yeah.
And when I would shoot an arrow, sometimes it would hit the necklace, sometimes it would hit Volvagia. And I don't know if there's something you're supposed to do with that necklace. And like I feel like there's something to that battle that I missed. Which is
this
neat,
person
but I
says,
think there's...
this guide says pull the green orb. Which is on its necklace. With bind, pulling out the orb shatters the orb, stuns Volvagia, creating an opportunity to deal damage.
See,
which I definitely didn't do.
Yeah.
They have this other tactic that they're showing where they put a ball and chain down, and then they used the thing to like push it forward.
Oh, so it's just right next to it, like swinging around in the
so
circle?
smart.
Yeah.
Shoot Volvagia with a bow. That's what I usually did.
Yeah, I would shoot it when it was like in the lava, and then I would use the Zalfos when it was like just on the hot ground because the Zalfos was resistant to
the fire ground. Smart.
I think that there's so much about this game with you have so many options and so many things, and I feel like they put things in there that they didn't tell you explicitly, but like things like that where I feel like the dream challenges where you have to like complete things in a certain amount of time, I feel like would have been better if they were more puzzles and they're like, here, you have these limited supply of echoes, figure out a way to like beat this boss with this, or figure out a way to get to the treasure chest here. Like a ways to be like, okay, in order to do this, you have to think creatively, use what you have to do, like, and learn more about the interactions and things like that. I feel like that would have been a good way to sort of get you to be more creative and see how things work and like, right, I can do this and this together and this is what would happen. Because there's definitely a lot of that. They just don't show it to you, and sometimes it's just like, you see people doing it and it's like, oh, that's really cool. I kind of wish the game would guide us to at least some of these, Does that make sense?
Yeah, you could like make this into like a level-based puzzle game pretty easily. Like having like just different like rooms where it's like you have to solve this puzzle and here's what you have.
Maybe they'll make DLC. Because I mean that would be kind of like the shrines from Tears of the Kingdom, where like there's limited equipment in the shrine and you have to like use it. Yeah.
And I think they kind of tried to do that with the From Zero challenges or whatever they're called. Where you have nothing, so you have to beat all the enemies in time. But these are the things that you have. But I feel like they could have expanded it a bit better and made it more. Again, I think the time limit thing may not be the best mechanic to accentuate the mechanics of this game.
I don't know. I found it a bit tough. I tried one and then I didn't do it in time, and I was like, well, I'm probably going to be slow at all of these. Like, I don't know. But it was interesting. In the Dream Dojo thing.
The dojo thing. Yeah, I never went in the dojo. So
yeah. They're like, you definitely don't go in that dojo over there. And I was like, well, I'm definitely going in that dojo over there. Whatever.
I like went toward it and I was like, this seems like it's probably going to be like a big like mini game quest, and I just want to go to the mountain. So
yeah, you're right.
I was like, I'll come back later. And I never did.
Yeah, I just did the first one. But there's a bunch, and then you can like do all the bosses and stuff too. So it definitely is fun if like that's what you're into. But I was like, no, I've got things to do.
Yeah,
I have to record in a week or whatever.
Yeah, it was one of those days where I was like, I'm gonna beat the next dungeon and then go to bed. So I was like, I don't really want to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys ever do Dampy and
Oh no.
meet like?
Oh
no?
yeah, that's right. I forgot that he's there.
Yeah, I
and
did
he's
a
like,
couple
come to my
of them.
house.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you use any of them?
Not really. I like played with them, but I didn't
Yeah.
really like use them functionally. Some of them seem like they could have
Yeah.
been interesting, but
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What do you get?
So he makes like enemies, mechanical enemies that are like a fusion
Oh.
between two of them. So
Okay,
one of them is like a
automatons.
Tektite, a Tektite that explodes
Explodes.
when it like lands or something.
Oh.
Yeah.
That could
For
be
me,
useful.
the biggest thing is they have health, and if they take too much damage, they're broken. You have to come back and pay rubies to repair them.
Oh well, that's annoying.
And and I feel like that's a huge deterrent for using them. And I don't know how strong they necessarily were to like justify. I mean, again, I didn't use them all that much, so maybe they were that strong. I don't know.
Mhm.
But that alone kind of deterred me away from trying to experiment because, like,
Well, you can just make a bomb
Mhm.
and a Tektite. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like that like wasn't like
I get
super
it.
like fully developed or like it got
yep.
partially cut or something because it's introduced fairly late in the story too. So like by that point you're like, but I have all these echoes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, so that's something. Is when the world opened up and you had the 3 places to go to, what order did you do them?
I think
I
I
did-
did the Faron Woods first, then the Goron, then the Mount Lanayru.
Yeah, that's the order I did too.
Yeah. See, okay, same. And
Is
you
it
know
just
what? Now that I think
inherent?
about it,
Like, I don't know.
well,
I
so
saw a lot of people online end in the Deku
Okay.
place,
Interesting.
but yeah, I don't know.
they
Maybe
ended
it's
there.
just us.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting. Yeah. I was talking to a friend, and he said that it seemed like he felt like the game was trying to guide him towards Elden first.
Oh.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's
No.
just because it was right next to the castle, kind of. You go like right next to it to Kakariko. I don't know. I didn't actually ask what his reasoning for that was, but
I
so
feel like-
but he
Mm.
he also was like, when they give me choices like that, I kind of want to see what happens if I don't go that way. So he went Farron, Eldon, and
Okay.
Lanrayu too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Farron
I don't
seemed
know.
closest, or at least closest to
Yeah.
a point that I had or something. Like,
It seemed
Mhm.
easiest to access, and I
so I went to that one
assumed-
first.
Yeah. No, again, with my extensive knowledge of playing through bajillion Zelda games, I was like, well, the Goron one is going to be hot, and the probably Lanayru is going to be ice. So probably the Faron ones, I'm not going to need special equipment, probably. Like, it seemed like it was closest to parts of the map that were already open. You didn't have to do anything to unlock it. So I was like, I'll just go there first. That was what I thought. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, also that's the Ocarina order, right? You do Deku, Goron, Zora.
I guess so.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah,
Anyways,
Lanayru
interesting.
just
Okay.
seemed like it was like a finale kind of place, especially since they call
Yeah,
it Holy Mount,
yeah.
Holy Mount Lanayru.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, when did this mountain become holy? Although it does have in the Lanayru region in Breath of the Wild, that's where the shrine is, right? So, like, I guess I don't know. Anyway, I thought that was funny. I thought that like Konde was gonna be like, what were the other snowy Yeti dudes that were in that other Zelda game?
From Twilight Princess.
one
He did
for,
remind me of Twilight Princess, but I was thinking of the other ones.
Phantom Hourglass.
Yeah, where
the
you
ones
have
on
to
the
like
island,
tell
yeah.
which one's lying or whatever. Like,
Yeah,
Oh
Yeah.
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 know
He
what
reminded
they're
me of
called,
those
though.
guys. They're like a
Yeah, you
Nuki
reminded me
or
of them.
something.
yeah.
Yeah, Nuki.
But
I think is the-
I think you're right. But yeah, they also reminded me of the in Snow Peak, the Yetis in Snow Peak,
Yeah.
which did make me laugh. And also the Freezards are there and everything too, so it's all kind of the same.
Yeah.
I liked the Freezard design from there was one of the handheld games that had it. It was like either Phantom Hourglass or whatever. Spirit Tracks that had Freezards too, and I thought they were really cute. These ones were like kind of, I wish they had like reused that design, but
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah, they were terrifying looking.
They were kind of creepy rather than cute.
Yeah.
Freezard is like an enemy that goes like, it goes one way or the other, like depending on the game. Like sometimes they're like I'm a charming ice thing that will freeze you, or like I'm a horrifying ice thing that will freeze you to death.
Yeah.
It's like one or the other.
Yeah, like the ones in Twilight Princess are those like giant monsters, like
Yeah.
with like 1,000 eyes or whatever. They're pretty terrifying.
Yeah. Snow Peak is kind of a terrifying dungeon, but the fact that you're like the whole time you're like, I'm looking for a pumpkin. It's like really funny.
You get soup ingredients for the Yetis.
Yeah, they're like, oh, I need this thing for my soup. Go into my horrifying house and find it.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm just here looking for soup, and like getting killed by a ball and chain or whatever. It's like... I really enjoyed Snow Peak if it doesn't show.
Yeah.
So many things about it. Yeah, and you get to snowboard there or whatever, which is funny. Anyway. We've kind of already started talking about gameplay and stuff. It's kind of been mixed in because I feel like enemies become gameplay in this game.
Yeah,
because they become your echoes. So,
I was thinking about like listing. Sometimes I like list like interesting enemies to like talk about, but I was like, we'll probably just talk about like the echoes we used and stuff. So
yeah, probably. Well, okay,
gameplay.
You asked us
gameplay.
Yeah, you asked us where we went, and we were kind of talking about that. But yeah, gameplay. Officially transitioned to talking about gameplay.
Right. Well, obviously the core mechanic is you play as Zelda. You've got your echoes with the tri-rod, so you have to defeat an enemy first, and then you can copy them and use them for points, which you can only have a certain number of points out based off of your level with tri. Additionally, you've got the pull. Is that what it was called? Pull? Telekinesis?
Yeah, you have like a thing where
bind?
you can attach, bind. Yeah, you can attach.
Yeah. Which is really neat, because you move things based off of how you're moving, but you can also give them control, and Zelda moves according to how that thing is moving. You can jump in this game, which again in a lot of Zelda games, especially is this the first 2D you can jump? Well, no, I guess you get the rock feather in a lot of them.
Yeah.
Or something like that, where you can kind of jump. But like this one, they just give it to you. They're like, no.
Yeah, it doesn't take up an item slot.
Yeah. And then you've got a little twirl you can use to like mostly cut grass. It doesn't really affect enemies by itself, but you have accessories that you can equip, which have different things, such as just increase the chance of finding different types of things from enemy drops and grass cuts. You can increase, decrease the amount of bar that you spend when you turn into sword fighter mode. One is that your twirl, for me, whenever it twirls, like there's a little yellow thing, and I always imagine that she's whipping people with her hair.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's actually what's happening, but that's I consider it like a hair whip.
It's definitely not that.
Yeah.
You have outfits that don't do anything, but they're cute. Well, I guess one lets you talk to cats.
One lets you talk to cats. One
there
is one that expands your hair twirl, so it's wider.
Oh, okay.
I always twirled when I caught fire, but I don't think it actually does anything.
No, yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I twirled all the time everywhere I
tell.
went because it was kind of like,
you
know, like when you in a like Ocarina of Time or whatever, like you can roll. Yeah, it's like the same thing where it's just like I'm going to twirl everywhere that I have to go because it gives me the perception that I'm moving faster.
Yeah,
regardless of if it's true or not. Also, it leaves a little twirl track in like sand and snow and stuff, which is funny. So, in my opinion, you can ride horses though, which is also fun.
Oh yeah. Which like I knew that there was gonna be a horse that you can like. I was like, it doesn't make sense because you have to kill something for it to be an echo. You're not gonna kill a horse.
No,
so,
Zelda
like
game.
eventually you can get Zelda's horse, and you summon it, but you can drop a carrot and it'll smell the carrot and come to you.
Oh, that's smart. I didn't do that. I was just like, cool. I don't care because you know.
Well, you have to
I don't care about horse riding. But
yeah, you had to complete a quest that Impa gives to you at some point.
Okay, I see.
Because your horse ended up in a rift, and so there might be like if you're trying to complete the game and everything, there might be one rift that you just can't get into that's on the map still, and it's because you have to start this quest chain to get into it.
Okay. There's definitely parts of my map that I didn't even go to, so I'm sure that it's there and I didn't do it. But I did ride the
the
free
best.
rental horse around though. I was like,
Mhm,
wee, and then I
yeah,
was like, you're gonna die. I'm gonna leave you.
it's yeah.
I don't like
I
taking
found
them out
it.
into the wild, even in Breath of the Wild or
Yeah.
whatever, where it's like, oh, I'm gonna ride from stable to stable so that the horsey's not out in the woods. You know, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just
Hmm.
me.
Hmm.
Anyway,
Um, they yeah, yeah. I have my
they were
criticisms of
cute
this game that I
though.
want to get to.
Okay,
Yes, yeah, oh yeah, no, the horse riding was fun. It was just
yeah.
kind of a pain. Like after I got the horse, I used it a little bit, and then it was just like, where's the carrot? Am I really going to switch to the carrot to get the horse, and then maybe dip the horse?
And then run
I
all the way,
find
take
something
it
and like,
back. Like,
but like even like just leave the horse, and then like because the horse can't come with me to where I'm going, so like I summon the
yeah.
horse, I go like 15 seconds. I'm like, oh wait, hold on, I want to explore this, so I leave my horse, and then I
I
don't know.
think like they don't build horse ride like in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Horse riding is practical, but I think in like a lot of games they build horse riding because the people want it and not because it's like necessarily the best way to
Yeah.
travel. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, like they're like, it's a Zelda game. You need to ride a horse. You need to be able to ride a
Yeah.
horse. Because even like, there's really only one time that you need a Epona. Even in, like in Majora's Mask, I think you have to jump over a wall. I think, and so you have to have a Epona for that. But I feel like the rest of Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, even there's no other time that you have to ride a horse.
For
In my
Majora's
opinion,
Mask, you also have a lot of options to move quickly, like with the Goron.
you can become
roll.
a Deku Scrub and twirl just like Zelda in this game.
Yeah.
For example.
Yeah. Ocarina of Time, you kind of need it for the big trading quest, but
yeah.
Yeah. But at least that map seems big enough to justify it a bit more.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like with Majora's Mask, if you really need to go around, like you can go back into and like make a direct line. I don't know. For me, that field doesn't seem big enough to justify.
because like the the town, like Clock Town, is like right in the middle of the field,
Exactly.
and basically the other things are like at the 4 cardinal points, right? So I don't know. Whatever. I mean, I appreciate everyone else's love of horseback riding in Zelda. It's just I just don't care. And then you have to do the horse riding quests for things in Twilight Princess. There's like a couple of times that you have to ride a horse, and you have to
Twilight
joust and
Princess
stuff.
is also huge, so
Yeah, the map is way bigger
Yeah.
than either of these.
yeah.
So.
Plus,
Any
you
of
can
the things
like
we talked
actually
about.
you can like fight on horseback in Twilight Princess.
Yeah, which is
you
pretty
couldn't-
sick.
Which you couldn't really do except for like the horrible Nintendo 64 stick aiming and in like Ocarina of Time and stuff.
No. It was impressive at the time, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I feel like Twilight Princess is the one where they really made the horseback riding like really, really good. And I mean, then Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, also the map is big enough that you can, and you can attack things on horseback, and like you can claim all your different horsies, and it's fun. Yes, but no, I still like to climb around like a feral man in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Just climb up things. Like I can't have a horse where I'm gonna climb over this mountain for no reason. Come on. Anyway. But it's still cute. But yeah, I feel like there's a lot of places where it'd be difficult to take a horse. It's like, so you can ride around the main area, but like you wouldn't be able to go up to Mount Lanayru or the Goron area because of the fire, and you gotta walk through caves and stuff. Like you probably have to leave them, right? So I interrupted you to talk about horses though. Awesome. Also come closer to your microphone.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Thank you.
Let's see. What? We were talking about.
Horses.
Oh, I was talking about the accessories because also
Oh,
one
yeah.
of the accessories increases your horse attack.
What?
It says horse attack up. I don't know what that means.
Well, when you run into enemies with the horse, it does damage. So it
Yeah.
doesn't
Oh,
work.
okay.
Yeah.
I figured it was something like that, but
I thought it was to attack horses to make.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's always the fun part in like Twilight Princess and stuff when you just
That's true. You can just crush
run
them.
over enemies with your horse.
Like, so long, suckers.
so yes, So there's a bunch of accessories. You can expand how many accessory slots you can have by meeting the Great Fairy. Was there any the jump height one is
I
a
use
must
that
have.
one all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one
The
never
other
left
ones
me.
didn't seem. It's like, okay, well, if I had to be underwater, then I used the flippers, because there was like you had to fight Null underwater that one time. So I used the flippers for that, and then, but yeah, once I got the jump height one, that was the one I used 90% of the time.
Yeah. Did you expand and have more slots, or did you not meet the Great Fairy?
No, I didn't meet the Great Fairy.
yeah.
Also, I
did.
got a jar. I got a empty jar, and it was like, it will attract fairies, but then I never saw a fairy after that again. Not in
There's
any
a
of the
couple-
dungeons or anything. So
Yeah, there's a couple
there's
spots
a
where they
couple.
spawn, but they're like little like
there
Yeah.
are, but it was
springs
like
or
I got
whatever.
it after and like there were some in the dungeons. Like I ran into a couple, but I just like got the jar after I had run into those fairies those times. It's like, okay. And then there is an accessory that's supposed to generate more fairies from grass, but I never wore it because I wanted to jump. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the fairies don't work for boss battles either.
well, then
Oh,
what
they
the fuck
don't?
is the point?
Yeah, I was like I'm not sure. I died once, and I was like, "What?" But I have a fairy. But and it, like when I like looked in my inventory in the boss battle, it was like not
was
there
there?
or something. So
Oh,
like, I mean, it was
maybe-
there before, but then it wasn't during the boss battle. But I mean, I didn't look into it too deeply after that because I was just like, well, I make sure I don't die then. So
Like, well, I guess I just won't die.
yeah. So I was like, it's all right. I have a fairy, and then I like died. I was like, wait, what?
Wait. The overall fairy presence was limited in this game. I feel like.
I did like the Great Fairy though, because she's just like, I want money.
Oh, she looks sassy.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's sort of just like, rupees are the greatest thing in the world.
Money makes the world go round.
Yeah.
The next part of gameplay is the sword fighter mode.
Yeah.
Where you press a button and you have a bar that for that, as long as that bar has meter, you can be Link and you have access to his sword, arrows, and bombs as long as you've unlocked them, because each time you fight Link you get more and more of his stuff. And then you can upgrade them to be stronger and have it so for the sword at full health you shoot a beam, as is
Ooh.
customary.
As is tradition.
Yeah. The arrows you can hold and shoot 3 at a time. And the bombs, I forget how you do it, but you can turn the bomb into a bomb chew instead.
Right.
Yeah.
I was really mad when that Link fight happened and just started dropping bomb chews, and I was like, how dare you?
And yeah, you get I forgot what it's called. Blue power, blue.
It's
What
like
is that
they just
energy
call it like
called?
energy. I don't. At least that's what I remember.
Well, no, the thing, the what you need to upgrade.
Oh, the
Oh.
might crystals.
Might crystals.
Crystals.
That sounds
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
The ones
you
that
get
look
some
at the Smith
crystals.
crystals. Yes.
And you can give those to Lineberry. Is that his name?
Blueberry. Limeberry.
Blueberry.
Blueberry.
And he will upgrade your meter, your sword, arrows, and bombs. And those are just scattered throughout. You get them for beating bosses and stuff.
You can find them in the grass.
Yeah. There's some in just hidden, like you see a rock that's just like, hey, that looks suspicious. So kind of like the Koroks in those games where you just see something and then instead of the yahaha, you just get a crystal.
I like the general mechanic of like having like equipment that like has a meter. Like I'm pretty wasn't that the main mechanic in
Link Between Worlds.
Link Between Worlds? Yeah. I kinda like that. Yeah, and then you could like borrow quote unquote borrow the equipment or whatever, and then if you die you have to rent it again or whatever. Like yeah.
Yeah, instead of having like to like keep your arrows stocked up or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think and I know that there's some people in the community kind of feel the same way. Switching to sword fighting mode is quote cheating unquote. And so they try to either play it without being a sword fighter or saving it only for the bosses, which I kind of agree. I feel like yeah, sure, there's some parts where you're just like, you know what, I want to turn into sword fighter mode, but I'm excited for a Zelda only game. So for me,
Right.
I tried to do the same where it's like, okay, no, I want to be Zelda. I want it to be a Zelda game. So I I played that as much as I could.
Yeah, I think it's less fun than the echoes for most combat situations. So,
well, again, like sometimes, if there's just a bunch of flying enemies, and I'm just like, you know what, I'm just gonna turn in, shoot some arrows, and then just for those, I think I did that once or twice. But
I feel like for the bosses, sometimes you like have to because they're much more powerful. So you kind of like the tactic is like distract them with your echo and then turn into sword fighter mode. And it's like
a lot of times I like use the echoes to like get them to their like weak spot exposed state, and then I change into sword fighter mode to smack it a few times.
The whale, yeah.
And then at the end, me and my Lionel would smack it a few times.
I feel like I wouldn't describe it as cheating.
No, I know.
But I definitely feel like it's definitely like, I mean, it's like my expectation for this game was we're going to play as Zelda, which means I'm not going to play as Link, Like,
it's a nice, like, I want to say crutch, but not in a bad way. Like, crutch to have.
Yeah.
Like something to fall back on if you bump into something that's just a little too tough or irritating to deal with. Like, I'm always for, like, more people being able to play games, so.
No, I agree.
I agree with
for,
that,
like, for easy options being there.
But yeah.
Honestly, I feel like what bothers me most is that it's so similar to Link's rather than being her own thing. I feel like that's more of what bothers me, I think, about it. Just because, again, it just seems like more of a dig at Zelda being like, I don't know. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. On the other hand, at the end of the game, you don't you give up those powers again, and then you are still like it's important in the battle at the end still that like your powers are split up. So like I think that kind of for me that redeems it a bit, but I do feel like it's more like it's just in principle I wanted to play a Zelda game where I play Zelda, and it's like it does make the game easier. I appreciate the mode for that because I also really struggle with video games, so I'm down. But like it would be cool if it was like a more Zelda
and like
thing, like Zelda got a special Zelda sword, or Zelda it's like always light arrows when Zelda shoots, or I don't know, something like that.
I know, and I think it was Twilight Princess, she had a like a rapier, so if it was more like thrusting in front rather than a wide sweep, or like something to make it more signature to Zelda rather than the exact same way that you've played Link in all the games before.
Yeah, I didn't take it as like a dig at Zelda, but I think it was like the developers being like a little nervous about such a different gameplay style.
Yeah.
It's like I could see them like since I think this game was received fairly well, so I could see them being like digging more into it in like a future game. Like, since they're like, okay, people got it, it's okay. Like,
definitely, like, probably some people are like, I picked up this Zelda game because I like to slash, which is like, I get it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And like, I can understand, like, it is definitely satisfying, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you have, like, you're more in control, you are, as compared to using your echoes, I feel like. And I can imagine you being like, I turn into sword fighter mode, and I'm just able to sort of, like, wreck shit during this time. It's a very cool, like, power up kind of feeling.
Button mashing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So like I could definitely see the appeal to some people. So I'm not really bothered that it's in the game. I just would have liked to see it a little more unique for her.
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe like there'll be a line in the future that's like Zelda, they'll release more like if this game sells successfully, which is like on track to be moderately successful. Apparently, this is like similar numbers to what Link Between Worlds had, so probably not the craziest. So we're not talking.
Yeah, it's a smaller Zelda game, but
but like maybe there could be a future where there's like another sort of line that's like Zelda focused, and it's like puzzly type games like this or whatever. Like that would be cool. I'd be down with that.
Yeah, it's like I liked having it there, but I could like feel the developers' anxiousness behind the the existence of Sword Fighter mode. So
Yeah, I think this game is very good. I think they definitely have a great basis that they can easily expand upon and make it even better. And I think the if I were in charge of the sequel, or maybe even just the development itself of this game in the past, up with Sword Fighter mode, I would have used like maybe seeing if I can give try another power or two and made down like try mode so that you bind and then you can maybe do one or two other things. And then left and right are different echoes that you can switch between, and then you have 6 that you have saved basically. So you can go between, or maybe I guess 2 on each, because one's a jump, one's you'd be able to probably have 3. I can't remember what all the buttons do now. If then you have two dedicated, or but yeah, I mean, I think because the biggest problem for me about the game is how difficult it is to switch between echoes, to find the echo you need, and all of that. And I feel like by giving you multiple slots to choose between your echoes, it gives you a lot more freedom to play around. And I feel like it makes it a lot more fluid, if you ask me.
Yeah, I feel like I did still struggle. We talked about like, oh, the controls are kind of awkward. Like the controls for picking echoes is a little bit awkward. And I feel like even through the rest of my gameplay, I still struggled where I would like accidentally hit sword fighter mode, or like need to adjust the sort order for the echoes like a lot, or like kind of pick the wrong one accidentally and have to go back and pick it again. So yeah, I mean, it's not, I definitely think it's like, I don't know what you would do better. I think you're right that maybe having more than one could be beneficial. So like, because I don't think they used the right arrow, so they only use the I don't think they used the left arrow. So like if you hold the right arrow, that's how you pick. So you could have one set on right and one set on left, and then you could switch back and forth.
Because the L button was also to pick an echo.
Yeah, well, it's like you picked between them, and then a different button like activated them. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, I don't think it was debilitating, but it was definitely like a little.
It was a little slow.
Well, again, like if you wanted to try something new, something that you don't usually use, like I feel like trying to find, or like even for the puzzles, like the little moles that dig in the sand, like I hadn't used it in a long time, so it wasn't there. Yeah. Cost wise, I don't remember. Is it 1? Is it 2? So like being able to find things like that easily was a bit challenging. And then I also think that they could have grouped it up, like put all the beds in one that you could then like press down. I was
actually about to say that, like, menu. Yeah, I actually had a little more ease with like picking them when I realized that like when they're in the when you're in the big like whole index page, they're kind of grouped it by type. So like sometimes I would just go to like a similar enemy that I needed, and then just open up the big page. Like it'd be like if I needed a fire keys, but I had an electric keys, like I had just used one, I'd just go to the electric keys and then hit the like full index, and then I could just scroll over to the fire keys because they were together on that page. How do
you trigger this full index that you're speaking of?
When you're like holding the select button, you can like press I think the plus button, and it would open the full page.
Because you also have an index in the start menu.
Yeah, that would just you
but
can do it that way too.
but I didn't know you can go from there from your selection.
Because it would be like on what you were, so that made it a little easier when I kind of figured that out.
Yeah,
I kind of feel
and
like
that menu is a grid, which also makes it easy. So like you can kind of scan a lot easier, and
I think it's kind of like how. You know how we talked about how Breath of the Wild, there was like some janky things with like the menu and the controls, and then in Tears of the Kingdom was a lot better. I feel like this is the kind of game where it's like, it's new, so it's like they figured out a way to do it, and maybe like you could refine it if you did another game that was similar or whatever. Like, yeah. It's like not
I
bad.
already feel like it's a little bit easier to navigate than the like fuse menu in Tears of the Kingdom, so it's like a little bit of an improvement on that already. So.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
because the fuse menu is similar in that it's like it's like just a list that you scroll through, unless you have like favorites. But even then, I think it's like, you have
scroll
to
through those.
you scroll through your favorites and then the rest, right? So yeah, that's true. Actually, that's a good point because it is very similar to that. I noticed that they had like UX designer credits in this game, and I was like, that's new and different. I mean, like maybe not that new, but I feel like more recent games have like menu, like UI designer as like a credit in the game, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah,
like I know that people are kind of like doing that as their job titles now and stuff. Like I'm sure like everybody it was being done, right? But now it's like they have people who are focused on it, which is kind of interesting. Side note that I noticed while I was looking at the credits.
we talked about this before, but you have those little like side rifts that aren't part of the main
Mm,
quest that you can go into,
right.
where you have to find Tri's friends who are hidden, oftentimes through enemies. Sometimes they're hidden in like an orb that you have to uncover by moving
Mm-hmm.
things or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Little mini like caves, 2D platformings and stuff where you have to like open up a door so you can get access to it and stuff like that. And completing those increases Tri's power, which either gives you an extra triangle
Mm-hmm.
point to use for your summons, or it starts reducing the cost of things from 3 to 2, or whatever. And so a selection would then be reduced by 1 each level. And yeah, completing a main dungeon would try a full level, while a rift would be a partial level, and you'd have to complete multiple of those to sort of unlock more reductions.
Yeah, more power for and reduction and
Yeah.
reduced cost. Yeah,
hmm
because it does both. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely interesting because again, like, and I think we talked about at the beginning, it seems a little slow. You have such limited options. You don't have very strong things, and but quickly you kind of be like, oh, okay, now I can do more, and then you just kind of keep going into the point where you're like, okay, I can have like 4 of these things that I used to only be able to have 1 of, or I can have this really really big thing, and I feel like that made it a very reasonable decision where it's like, okay, I mean, I could just pick this one thing, but instead of always doing that, why don't I try putting something that has a little less, that, that has a reduced cost now, that I can put more of and like sort of see what happens.
I do like the overall, just like gameplay of more like puzzly, like
hmm
making echoes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely thought that was a cool concept. And then I think you're right. We talked about like you mentioned platforming. There's like side scroller type platforming areas
hmm
too,
Yeah.
which I think
Um.
they've been in other Zelda games, but
Mm-hmm.
hmm
yeah. Like it's not my favorite thing, but they're fine. A lot of the dungeon like maps and stuff, they were all connected by like tunnels and like 2D
hmm
platforming parts.
hmm
So the
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
dungeons themselves had kind of a interesting layout.
Layout. Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah, like
agree.
they're very like sequential. I feel like with the games like Ocarina of Time and like Breath of the Wild and like all the console like bigger console games, they're like the map is like, it's like you can imagine that you're in a building and you return to different rooms and you go through different rooms.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
these
hmm
dungeons were very like I felt like it was difficult there was one dungeon where I remember I had to go back to a place and I was like I can't remember which like warp point it is. Like I felt
hmm
like
hmm
very the navigation and the rooms and stuff were fine, like the layout was fine, but like if you had to go back somewhere and navigate around, I found it kind of difficult to like kind of imagine the dungeons as a 3D space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, that makes
It's not
sense.
really a
Yeah.
critique. It's just like I just thought it
Yeah, it's
was
a different
an interesting
style.
experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
hmm
Even compared to like other
Uh,
2D Zeldas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it didn't have as much of the like parts of the dungeon like interacting with each other, except for I guess the one where you're like freezing and melting
Yeah,
stuff.
and that's kind of why it was hard because I'd be like, but you could kind of
Mm-hmm.
follow the like track on the floor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't that bad. Or it's like you'd go in like one room and then the room on the right or like the bottom or whatever was like the next room was the one where you had to unfreeze it or freeze it or whatever. So like it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't that hard, but yeah, it was kind of like I felt like it was hard to contextualize the layout of the
Yeah. No,
dungeons, I
that's
guess.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I remember one dungeon also where I think I missed something, and I was looking at
Yeah.
the map and be like, okay,
Like how the fuck
which
do I
war
get to
point
this
do I
room?
want?
Yeah.
And like trying to
Mm-hmm.
follow the dotted lines to be like, okay, if I warp here, I can get through this, and then that takes me through here, and then up there,
Yeah.
or
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it was
I
definitely
was like, are these
complicated.
stairs up or are these stairs
Yeah,
down on the
and I feel
map?
like,
Like yeah.
was it Link's Awakening where they had something similar, where because I think there was also overworld like you know the what 2.5D
Yeah.
is the dungeon, and then you'd have like ladders and stairs that you would go down, and then it would be a 2D section. I
Mm-hmm.
forgot how they noted it, if it was the same way with little dotted lines or if they had like a little symbol.
I don't I don't
Yeah,
remember having the little lines because the maps are usually represented like actually so it's like in this game the map was like one big image, right? So the map of all of the rooms was one big image, and then you would start, if you were on the floor, it would kind of like focus on that part, but then you could like just move up and down to see all the floors. And usually I feel like in the other games it's like you see one floor and then you have to like click a button or like trigger through the different floors. Yeah, so they're like stacked. So like I feel like when the map is laid out like that, it's like you can see the structure of the dungeon because it's like laying each level like on top of each other. But in this game, everything is like, because it's represented flat, even on the map and not stacked, it's like, yeah, you can kind of, they have like the lines that point, and it is like effective, but I still feel like it doesn't give the vibe of a 3-dimensional space. It's like you're navigating through like room after room after room in a way. Like, I don't know. Like you're I don't know. It's hard to describe. But I feel like I guess I'm thinking about what's that game that you were talking about? Link Between Worlds. There's a lot of parts of the dungeons where there's like a hole that you have to jump through, or there's like, you have to go through a crack in the wall. So I think actually like the dungeons themselves also contribute to the feeling that it's a 3-dimensional space that you're going through because of that. And like some of them are like, you can see part of the map underlaid underneath. And I feel like all the rooms in this game are all kind of like in isolation. Like you walk into a room and then you see the doors and stuff, but it's, you don't normally see like the floor of another, even if you have to drop down, which there is one where you have to drop into like a room, I think, to get a key. Like if there's a hole in the floor, it's just like a black hole. Like you don't see the next floor below it or anything. So it doesn't have that like same 3D kind of vibe, I guess. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't think it's, again, not critical, just very different than some of the way they presented the map and this layout of dungeons before, and it made it feel a little more like each room is a little more isolated, I guess. And it makes it kind of difficult to backtrack in certain cases.
Yeah, and I think the dungeons were fairly linear in this game, probably to kind of avoid that needing to backtrack because it was a little difficult to do.
Yeah. Like, usually if there was more than one door, it would just be, like, side door with, like, a chest in it or something. Like, there wasn't normally, like, oh, I go in here and then I loop back and go around and under this thing and, like...
Yeah, like,
occasionally
the puzzles
there was,
were usually, like, isolated to, like, 1 or 2 rooms.
The dungeons themselves were, like, cool, though. They were all pretty different in, like, their
I
and
just feel like... And the core mechanics of them, I think, were different enough. Yeah, no, I was pretty satisfied with the dungeons, and I especially the Lenryu one. I really liked that dungeon. I thought it was really neat and cool, and like seeing it switch from hot to cold and how it affected the stage was really interesting. Even the side dungeons. So there's one that I know that I missed, but there was also the ghost palace in the Deku area. That one was very interesting, where you had to like maneuver the electric balls to put them in a cage, basically, or something like that. That was kind of interesting. And like, apparently there's a pirate ship you can go into. A friend was telling me about that I missed.
Yeah, I did that.
There's I remember the pirate ship, but I didn't know if you could go in it. What's the pirate ship dungeon like, Kayla?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's fairly short. It's just like, the main thing is it's got like a Baronade, the electric jellyfish boss from like Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina of Time
is in there,
yeah.
So it's like an optional boss in there.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah, they're just like a little mini dungeon, like just a couple of rooms, water and stuff.
And then my friend was telling me about so you get the ghost, and you need to do that for the ghost dungeon because there's a wall with a switch behind it, and you need to summon that ghost to hit the switch behind it.
Oh,
and then later he's just like, and then anytime there was a switch behind a wall, I could just use the ghost, and I didn't even have to figure out what the puzzle was.
What?
So and it's stuff like that where it's really. And then he was telling me also about I don't know if you remember, there's two sections actually, where you were underwater.
Yeah.
And you had to go up, but there's wind blowing you down. So you can't just swim up, you have to get up there. And I want to know how you guys got through that.
Oh, I don't remember specifically. Okay. I think I just carried a rock in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
So there was one place where there was like an overhang, so I created a rock echo, and you have to do it fast because also you're running out of oxygen. So I created a
Yeah,
rock
yeah.
echo, and then swum underneath it, and then used tries like power, and then carried the rock, and then swam up because I think the rock will
Oh,
block the air enough. I think that was what I did. I could
interesting.
be
Okay.
mistaken though. I can't remember. I mean, it was traumatic,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah, I'm
Mm-hmm,
not sure if it's
mm-hmm.
that exact puzzle, but there's a couple where I use the what do you call it? The walking statue guys.
Oh yeah,
Armos.
like Armos. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe that was what I did. Maybe I generated an Armos. Anyway, it generated something heavy that you can block the flow of the water with, basically. And then,
Okay. Yeah, yeah. So, because he put a one of the platforms that go up, with the eyes on
yeah.
them. He put one
Mhm.
of those, and that blocks the wind.
Do they
and so
not
you swim
like
under it.
drown though under the water
No,
eventually?
no,
Okay.
those don't. Well, maybe eventually, but definitely, like
Some
some of
enemies
them will
do.
disappear like almost right away.
Yeah.
That one lasted apparently long enough.
Oh, okay.
And then
Oh, interesting.
he missed. I guess to get up to Mount Lanrayu, right?
Mhm.
There's a cave area that you go into, and then it takes you to the top.
Mhm.
He somehow missed that and has just climbed it using those platforms. And he's like, I'm almost positive I'm doing something wrong, but this is working. So
Yeah, I
It's
thought
like
about
not
that
many
because
paths
I was
up
like,
there, but
because I
can,
noticed that
yeah.
it was like the cliff's not that high behind it. I was but
Yeah.
I was like, I'll just go in the cave and see what happens. But
oh, and then for that water puzzle,
It's funny.
what I did was, as you said, there's that little overhang. So on the other side of it, I launched a wooden box, and I
Yeah.
latched onto it with Try's power, and
float
it
up.
rose with me. Yeah, and so until I let go, I wasn't being pushed down, and I'm high enough that even while being pushed down, I can move far enough to the right that I'm out of it.
That's a good
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, and so it's stuff like that where because like from what I've heard that is a spot where people get stuck at and like, oh my goodness, what am I supposed to do? And you try and try and try, and then you figure something out. And just kind of interesting how many different possibilities it was, and like how you get stuck there and then figure it out. And it's different for everyone, kind of like um because they were talking about how like in the commercials or whatever their promotional stuff, like everyone's playthrough is going to be different, and like it's kind of interesting. It is fun talking about these parts and being like, what did you do to get that? Oh, I did this, you did that, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Which I feel like, I don't know, it's something that I feel like doesn't happen often in many of these games that are coming out these days. So yeah, it's nice, it's fun. They were right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is as advertised, frankly, because I think everybody, even if I look at like just one guide or like watch a playthrough, like people do things really differently every time. So
I feel like, like there are lots of jokes about the like Tears of the Kingdom. It's like, oh, you can do this puzzle or you can build a giant bridge.
yeah,
I feel like the Echoes of Wisdom equivalent of the giant bridge is just a stack of beds.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are definitely a couple times where I would try something else and I'd be like, all right, screw it.
stack of beds. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get the cloud, and you're like, ooh, I don't need stack of beds anymore because they'll just like float, and they'll eventually break, but like they don't need to be anchored to the ground, right?
And well, and even the water was really helpful because as long as one part of it was touching a surface, it would stay there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
And
how
so
I did
you
that
can make
part.
a bridge
eventually.
of a bunch of different ones where you put like from one wall to another, like you hug the wall and there's a gap in the wall, and you can just build the bridge to the next wall, and it just keeps floating as long as one piece of water is anchored to the wall.
Yeah, that was that part that I mentioned where there's like it's a really tall thing you have to get from one thing like across a big gap, and there's like the ice jets.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah, they use clouds in the thing I just looked at, but I use the water because like it goes on the wall, so that you can just like build it up and go across.
I use the water a lot in the Still World whenever there was like a sideways lake or something.
Yeah,
Because you could just build it out from the lake and
from the lake.
Oh yeah,
climb up. Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool. Did you want to talk about speedruns?
I believe so. Yeah.
Is it time?
So
Okay.
let's just talk about the different types of speedruns that are on this, and also some that I know. Well, one that I know exists outside of this. So on the leaderboard, there's any percent, which right now, 17 days ago, is 34 minutes and 22 seconds
Every time you
by
do this, I'm
Nitros.
always like, I could have been so much faster. like, like 25 hours later, 30 hours later.
But think about how much time they have to spend to practice getting it to that time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you tell us what special tricks they're doing, because also when I saw that it was 30 minutes, and then like completing all the dungeons is only like a few hours, so I assume to get from actually completing all the dungeons or whatever to that, there must be some kind of glitch that they're using.
It's really cool.
I was gonna say, I've seen some YouTube videos that were like, speedrunners broke the game wide open, but I didn't actually watch them, so I'm like, oh, they must have found some crazy trick.
Yeah.
Atapi is at 34:41 seconds, so 19 seconds behind 22 days ago. And then Onaku is third place with 35 minutes 51 seconds, so about a minute and a half behind. All dungeons. Oh, what is unrestricted and restricted? Okay, so there's a restricted and unrestricted category. Restricted only has one person, so feel free to do it, and you'll get second place, almost guaranteed. And it's the same person. Glenn has first place in both. He has an hour difference between the two. So so restricted is just about. It's 2 hours and 56 minutes 54 seconds. So just under 3 hours. Unrestricted is 1 hour 54 minutes 37 seconds. And then you have Sink at 1 hour 55 minutes and 59 seconds, so about a minute and a half behind. And Onaku again at 1 hour and 57 minutes flat, which puts him at just under 2.5 minutes behind. Aha. Wrong warps. Okay, you can use wrong warps in unrestricted, but restricted you have to. All right. So only one person has 100% completion at 8 hours. And that's Purple Photon. If you're playing the game like us and playing glitchless, TGH has 3 hours and 41 minutes and 6 seconds. And Ice Blue is 5 minutes behind at 3 hours, 46 minutes, 18 seconds. And Kitamura is just 10 seconds behind that. Okay, so it's a glitchless run to get through, just to get to Hyrule Castle and begin in there. Interesting how that's a run. But there's two people, Garthox and Lion Rouge. Oh, at 2 hours and 4 minutes 50 seconds versus 3 hours 30 minutes 57 seconds. So a full hour and almost a half behind.
But then if you submit one, you can be third place.
Yep. You know it.
I know how the cosmos
Alan's
ways.
catching on.
Yeah, finally learned.
So I watched 2 any percent speedruns. One by Gymnast and one by Linkus. And it was interesting, yeah. They were slightly different. One was for Gymnast was doing a charity event. So he played a bit more of a safer route. To sort of kind of show it off more. It was not as competitive. And then Linkus was doing a tutorial on how to do it, sort of. So he was talking a bit more about it. So he wasn't also being competitive, but he was doing the more competitive run. Mm-hmm. So I found out that there is a table percent where the only echo you pick up is the table. And you can beat the game with only that echo.
I guess you can, because you can get Sword Fighter mode, so...
Yeah. So, a lot of it was just optimization, right? Figuring out where you can jump to, end up skipping some places where they intended you initially to, you have to jump down and go up and around, where you can, if I jump right, I can make this. One of the first really big surprising things was in the still world, the first still world. You're walking around and there's a cave that you're supposed to go into to get higher up because it's up a cliff and you don't have enough beds to get up there. Mm-hmm. But there's one of those guys floating, turned into stone. You can jump on them and put a bed on them and use them. So you make a stack of beds, jump on them, and make another stack of beds, and you're up there.
Smart.
Like their day hasn't been bad enough already.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
they won't remember.
It went from being bad to being bed.
If they come back to life, they're like, why does my head hurt so bad?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's the one where I saw you can steal Link's shield, and that like it's literally the room before it that you pull the shield out, and then you fight Link, and you just pull the shield off. Crazy.
Right.
So that's the biggest thing. You use mostly the sea urchin. You use the spider that shoots the web up to climb places, and that's the one that so he didn't use it in his speed run. He used the sea urchins in the final boss, but in that boss room, when there's a bunch of like the little ads that it spawns, you can put the spider down, and the first time the spider gets hit, instead of dying, it flips on its back. And if they don't fight for very long, it'll flip back up. So it gives you a little more time for them to be distracted. So yeah, I mean, again, a lot of it is just kind of being quick in where you're going, knowing where the enemies are, and like making sure that you position yourself so that they miss your hits, so that you can attack them real quickly, and then almost immediately after you beat that first boss, you just do the first dungeon. You go back to Luberry's house, and there you find out that there's the Zora and the Gerudo.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
and
that
opens up the rest of the world, and you go by the graveyard. There's a warp post that you can use.
Yes.
And then you climb up the trees to get near the Lost Woods.
Okay.
So the way the wrong warp works is if you put a sign down and you read the sign the moment you zone out, and it teleports you back into an area, and you open up the map at the same time, it doesn't know what to do, and so the map stays up. And you get warped out, so you're now playing again. So even though the map is up, your movements also control Zelda and the map.
Okay.
So the trick is then you use this. It was really hard to sort of see how it worked, but you can then teleport and go back into a rift, and now you have the original map up still as you're playing the game, and you can teleport in a rift. So basically you tell the game to teleport someplace in the rift, and you tell it to teleport to that graveyard. And what happens is the graveyard is, let's say, warp spot number 7. It's like, okay, you're in Still World, so we'll take you to warp spot 7 in Still World, which is Null's body, which is the final dungeon. So you're just there.
Perfect.
And so one of the nice things with this run is you have Link's shit, so you didn't give it to him, so you can still turn into sword fighter mode. And then also there's some things where it like checks whether or not you gave your shit to Link and all that. So there's some areas where Link is there where he's supposed to be, and some areas where he's not. So there's one place where you go and there's a switch that you're supposed to hit, and afterwards a door opens and Link goes through, but that's the room that Link doesn't spawn in. So you hit that switch, the door opens, and the camera is like, "All right, Link," and it'll stay there and it'll get stuck. So you have to hit the switch, pause at the same time, the same frame, save, and then load, because the game will be like, "Okay, we hit the switch, it's open."
Then you load into the fight.
You load, and then that door will be open, and it's not going to do that cutscene where it's trying to get Link in. Another thing is Link also doesn't show up in the very first room where you split off, so there is nothing blocking you going down Link's side. So there's another area where you're supposed to do a 2D cave to just get up to where Link is, and instead you just go back. You can cut through Link's side, and you're with him. And that's the spot where you pick him up and you have to take him to the top. So you can do that. He'll do it. You hit the button and he goes through. And then you fight the boss battle. Something interesting that I didn't know. So Null has a bunch of hands that spawn, and you have to defeat those hands to weaken Null to be able to attack him and deal damage to him. You can grab with try the hands and pull them, and then all Link has to do is one slice and it cuts off.
Yep.
I did not know this. So I just kept, doing damage.
Maybe I only knew that because I I skimmed a guide that was like, hold the hands and Link
Yeah.
will attack or
Mhm.
whatever. And I was like, and then you watch it and then it's like, it's interesting though, because when you do have Link, like sometimes Link isn't in the right position. So it takes time for Link to run over, or you can like drag Noel's arm closer to Link, but then he like has to slash it. It can't be like an arrow.
Yeah, but
It's kind of
at least
annoying.
from what I saw on the speed
Anyway.
runs, like once you grab it, Link knows, oh, okay, hold on, it's my turn, and he'll like
Yeah, I
go
gotta run
straight
over
over.
there.
Yeah. So yeah, it's
Yeah, the
definitely
AI will do.
challenging. There's a lot of like, okay, is he in the right spot? The speedrunners had a hard time, both of them, like targeting the right hand, because they'd press the button and it'd be like,
Yeah,
not
it's
that,
hard.
nope, not that, nope, not that, yep. And then by the time they got it, they only
Yeah.
got one hand, and then they couldn't get the other hands during that cycle. So
Yeah.
that's the first phase. The second phase is the water part. That's an auto scroll. It does not matter how much you hit null until you get to the end. Then once you're at the very end, you have to hit him once, and it'll move to the next phase.
Interesting. So you just have to avoid all the attacks, basically.
Yeah. And even the little the fish that was one of the bosses in, I think, the Zora area. That fish also is not an enemy. It's like part of the background, so you can just go through it. You don't have to avoid it.
Yeah, you can avoid it.
Yeah, when he first showed up, I was like, oh, shit. But then he just kind of went away. So I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last section is the harder part. And that's just because, again, he beat the first dungeon, so he has 4 hearts. The other guy didn't beat the first dungeon. He had 3 hearts.
Okay.
And so the enemies there, like especially the Lizalfos, those are the hardest ones because there's a lot of them. They're kind of fast, and they deal 3 hearts of damage. So depending on how many hearts you have, that's either all of it or you have 1 left. And there's just a lot going on. You only have 3 or 4 tri-power points to summon monsters. It looked stressful. It looked hard. Definitely challenging. And I think they both, no, at least the first one died a couple times and had to reset it, which is also a nice thing because they did the wrong warp for some reason. When they died and come back, they're only at the 3rd phase, where I think they're supposed to go back to the 1st phase. I think that's what he said. So it's kind of interesting that wrong warp makes it easier for you if you get that far, And then, yeah, you fight it, you beat him, you get the Triforce, the game's over. The alternate route is, as soon as you get the spider with the web, because, yeah, when you summon that spider, it shoots a web to the ceiling, you can climb. I think as soon as you get that one, you leave, and instead of zoning out at the Lost Woods, you make a tower just out there in Southhorn. You make a tower there.
Yeah,
so you get the trampoline, you get some trees, and you climb up to the top of the trees, and then you make a tower as high as you can. And there's a spot where there's like 3 rocks that you can use to also help you build your tower. And basically you reach this point where, because the tree is somewhat curved, you can stand on the tree, and then when you walk up to the top of it, you zone out because you're just too high, and the game's like, you're not supposed to be this high, go back, stop. And so you do the same thing. You read a sign, you open the map, and you zone out all at the same time. And this time you wrong warp, and it takes you over down because if you don't do the first dungeon, there's a rift blocking you from going further north. But if you wrong warp using the options that you have there, you can get all the way up to like the Zora village. And so then you can move all the way back to that graveyard, which is the spot that you need to get the wrong warp to Null's body. And you kind of do the same thing. You do the wrong warp again at the Lost Woods, because it's faster than making another tower. So you just have to do that first. But making that tower is a long time. So if you mess up, your run is pretty much ruined. If you're trying to be competitive, so you make that tower, you wrong warp just to get to the place that you need to actually wrong warp, and it's more or less the same, except you have 1 less heart. You don't have sword fighter mode. So one of the sections at the very beginning where you and Link are together, there's enemies that spawn, and they're that little blob if you run around and avoid those blobs for long enough, they just stop in midair and you can turn around and attack them. So you can do that for a large set of it. And then the final one is the Lionel. If you stand right below it, it doesn't have a turn, so it'll widen, sharp enough, so it'll keep circling around you. So you just put some urchins there, and it'll like take damage over time, and then just pop before it even summons.
Interesting.
And yeah, so it's definitely interesting, and would love to sort of see like a more like technical explanation of why the wrong warp works, how you open up the menu, and like why it is that you can have the menu open while playing as Zelda. And I don't know, it's very interesting, and I think it's fascinating, at least from that end.
Mhm.
And it's definitely not as technically interesting as the I don't know if you remember, I think it was Back in Time they called it, where you played the title screen, but it definitely has
Yeah.
the same vibes as that. And it's just, I don't know, I thought it was really cool and interesting.
Yeah, I love that there's a wrong. Yeah, I
Wrong
love that there's a
warps are
wrong warp.
always
That's
cool.
a classic Zelda
Yeah.
speedrun because
There's a wrong warp in the year of our
Yep.
Lord 2024.
Yeah.
There's still games
because
with
when I
wrong
think
warps,
when I think
you
of
know?
Zelda speedruns,
Like-
I think of the Ocarina of Time wrong warp that takes you
Yep.
right from Goma
Yeah.
to the end of the game. So.
Yeah.
Lists and codes still exist, so I guess that's how you do.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's cool.
And then, oh my goodness, just like a couple weeks ago, I was on Reddit, and someone's like, "Hey, I'm trying to do like a report on like speed runs for my like coding class or something like that. Does anyone have some good like Zelda speed runs that have like on the technical side are very interesting?"
Yeah, the one with where they fucking use Paper Mario.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a very
Use-
interesting. That's true.
The one where they use where they execute all the code in the Wii menu and like have like 3 save files for Twilight Princess or whatever.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. But I was
All
like,
of those are
oh,
good.
this is my time. I've done some research on this.
Let me tell you.
Yeah.
It's my moment to post on Reddit.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's very interesting. I love these technical things, and how like just you do the wrong thing by accident. Like how do you figure that out? Like you have to read the sign when you're warping out to figure out that, like, I don't know, it's just
Yeah, that'll.
it's very fascinating if like someone's like, okay, how many different things can I do all at once and see if it breaks the game,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I think there's definitely also like people know that there are known tactics for speedruns. So like wrong warp is one.
Yeah.
So I think like the speedrun like hunter people are like, how can I trigger a wrong warp? So it's like, okay, well I have warp locations. Like I know that I'm gonna have locations in the still world and locations in the regular world. So like maybe there's a way I can do that. And so they try to trigger that. And I think like the one with the Wii menu or whatever was they needed a way. Oh no, it was the horse name, which is in the beginning menu of Twilight Princess, right? Where that you name your horse, and it's like they found out that it's just like not checked, and so you can write executable code in there, basically. If I recall correctly,
Something like that, yeah.
So like they know, like people generally know what ways games get broken now. So I feel like they kind of like it's kind of like when people like hack. Like there are general known vulnerabilities for things.
Yeah.
So they try to find things to leverage those.
Yeah.
I feel like is like
Yeah, they're also
Yeah.
just
The first
like,
start.
Yeah, they're also
The
just
first
people
start.
in the speedrunning
Yeah.
community who like don't speedrun themselves. They just find glitches. So.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or they're like, I have this item and I just like, let me see if I can bomb chew my way over this thing, or like observe the physics of games and stuff. You know. Anyway.
Yeah. I love them because they sound like
Yeah.
like the playground rumors we used to have. It's like if you do this at this time, 30
Up, down,
a
up, down,
specific
left, right,
amount
left,
of
right, B,
times.
start.
Yeah.
If you yell "gotcha" in the microphone, it will help you catch the Pokemon.
Yeah.
It's definitely true. And I won't hear
It's like
otherwise.
those like old Pokemon glitches. Like I still have the like item duplication glitch memorized in Pokemon Red and Blue, but it's like it sounds ridiculous because it's like you talk to this guy, you say no, you.
Shall we talk about visuals and music?
Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Okay. I think we talked about visuals before in the in our first impressions video, first impressions episode, where like the style is very similar to that new kind of like 2D, slanted 3D or whatever style, like in the remade version of Link's Awakening. Yeah. It's the same style as Link's Awakening. Let me rant. Let me ramble. But yeah, it's cute. I like the overall general style. And I especially liked the still world visuals where it's all kind of like drippy and goopy and like purple. I was playing this a lot around Halloween because it's like we're recording November 3rd. I was like, oh, so spooky. It had a nice spooky vibe. I liked it. I like that the rifts have this like weird perspective shift also. So like when you're walking by them in the overworld, there's like stuff moving in the background, but it's like, and they like are not, I don't know, like for example, if you have a rift that goes like over a hill or whatever, like it doesn't match the contour of the hill. It's kind of like like stuck in it. It's kind of like outside of the geometric like planes of wherever you're walking around. It like looks really cool. And I enjoyed that.
It's like someone tore a hole in the like screen or whatever.
Yeah. In reality.
Yeah.
And I think that makes sense with the like story where it's like Null is like representative of nothingness and like trying to absorb everything, so it's just like taking without discretion, or like kind of like without, it's like that nothingness is not it's like outside of the rules of like the world, like physics, I guess. It's kind of interesting. So I enjoyed that about this game, particularly compared to like, I mean, there's callbacks to like a bunch of other like Link Between Worlds, and then obviously Link Between Worlds is based off of like Link to the Past, right? So it's still using the same like trees and even like a similar map layout to those places, or to those games. And like we talked about how like the enemies, like there's like the Zoras that look like the ones from the old games, and then like the newer games, like both the river and the sea Zoras were there or whatever. Some basically like callbacks with looks. And then it was like they had the Gerudo. They're kind of like I think more like the Breath of the Wild kind of Gerudo in their styling, I guess you could say.
Yeah, they got that aesthetic.
Yeah.
And I think we mentioned it briefly in our first impression, but I think that's the first time they've been in a like quote unquote 2D Zelda game.
Yeah, I think so. Because the only other games they were in were Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and Breath of the Wild, right? And then like Tears of the Kingdom. So. Yeah. So I enjoyed seeing them, and I enjoyed the maps. And the dungeons were nice. We did talk a little bit earlier about how like the theming is different. Also the visuals are different in all the dungeons. Like it's not like some other kind of like 2D, classic 2D games where all the dungeons like look the same, kind of,
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously like graphics aren't as limited as they used to be, so we could do whatever we want.
Yeah.
But it's still nice when they're like, the dungeons are like themed, even if some of the puzzles are similar or whatever. Like,
I generally don't like the beady eyes that they have, but I do feel like it does make it very expressive.
I don't like the eyes because they're a little bit soulless to me. I think I mentioned that when we talked about the new. But other than that, I think they're expressive. Their voice acting is cute in this game too. It's kind of skipping ahead a little bit to sound, but like I think their expressions come across more in their animations overall, and their like voice acting sometimes in their cases, in certain cases.
Yeah, like I was like chuckling throughout the whole like Zora chief.
Yeah,
fight.
they were great.
It's just the way. Like their little like angry poses and then their like shocked reactions and stuff.
I like the whole scene at the end where all the characters get back together, and like you can tell exactly what they're talking about, even though they're not. There's no dialogue. Like they're just animated. Like it's kind of cool. I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
And like I think usually the little fairy supporting characters are pretty cute, but like Tri is especially cute, and the animations help that too. I did mention earlier, but I really like how when you stop moving, Tri sits on your head, which is great.
Yeah.
It's like, I'll just chill here for a bit, I guess.
Yeah, and how they'll do that, like, to warp Zelda out and stuff, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, Tri will go point at the warp points and stuff and kind of, like, hover around in an excited way, which is cute. It's like, look over here, I'm helping.
I found Kondo's jumps very unsettling.
Where it, like, breaks the whole... What do you mean? Elaborate.
Like, there are times where you meet up with Kondo, and then he's like, all right, I'll meet you up ahead. And then he just kind of, like, lifts up as a jump. And I remember I was with Harley. She was just doing some work. She wasn't really paying attention, but she was in the room. And I was just like, oh my God, he jumps. And it's like, what? And then it happened again, and I was like, oh, I wasn't ready for that. And then, like, the third time, I was like, hold on, Harley, I need you to look at this. I'm almost positive he's going to jump. And then she saw it, and she's like, oh, that's what you're talking about. I get it now.
You just kind of, like, jump away to the top of the screen, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. And I think it's just, like, it's a very uniform motion, so it doesn't, like a normal jump where you accelerate and then slow down. He just kind of, like, zoop all the way up. I don't know.
I couldn't tell if Konde was gonna be a bad guy or a good guy. I was like very unsettled. Where it's like, Konde will help you. Come to Konde's house. Come rest in Konde's house. It's like, I don't know if I want to be trapped in this house with you. Like, what? You know? And then it turned out he was sad, which is fine. But maybe I was too suspicious.
I think I was predisposed to be like, oh, that's just how Yetis are from the Twilight Princess ones.
They're just
but
weird.
then again, they kind of turned around, like, because one of them was the villain anyways.
Exactly.
Right?
That wasn't her. That wasn't her fault,
but she was possessed.
Yeah, that's true. But like, you know, I could have totally seen something like that where it's just like,
that's what I thought was going to happen.
A misunderstanding makes him really pissed off, and he gets mad at you, and you fight, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I let my rage get to me.
Or like his brother. Well, I mean, like the thing that he thought was his brother was the enemy, was the villain. But I thought it was going to be like, oh, his brother is like possessed, and then you save him, and then they reunite, which isn't what happened. But that's okay. That's what I thought was going to happen.
They reunited in the credits, or they were getting ready to.
Yeah. The credits fix everything. Except for all the dead people in Ocarina of Time. the spirits, the people, not spirit, the ones who went to the spirit realm, the sages. The sages. Yeah. They were probably not technically dead, but whatever. You get my point. Anyway.
Yeah, one thing we didn't discuss is that, like, and this is pretty typical, but it didn't occur to me for a while. After defeating the dungeon, you can go back to the towns, and there's a bunch of different quests for people, and so I think that's how you get the pajamas. Is you go back to the Gerudos, and then you can play hide and seek with one of the Deku scrubs, and then
I did go back to the Gerudos to get more mangoes.
Yep, you could do that one, and then there's the Kondo. You can do something for him, and I didn't do that, but my friend was telling me about how satisfying that quest line was, I guess, apparently.
Yeah, I did those in some of the earlier ones, but I had kind of a busy October, so I was rushing at the end a bit.
Same.
Yeah,
But yeah, I like that there were like little side quests like that and stuff. I feel like a lot of the like 2D style Zelda games don't have as much in side quests. So.
And then in order to get to each dungeon, you pretty much have a side quest sort of thing that you have to do to be able to access the dungeon, which I think they really started with I guess Breath of the Wild. I'm trying to remember if you really had to do much to get into any of the dungeons for the games before, like
I don't know. I mean, you have the whole freaking like Triforce
Link
shard quest
World.
for Ocarina, for Wind Waker. Like, I mean,
there's
usually
usually something
you
ahead of time. I think they were less story driven, I guess, than like
I guess
because the Breath of the Wild ones are more like emotionally connected to like the previous champions and stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, especially the 2D ones, like
I mean, I'm thinking
like you know, like Link Between Worlds. I'm pretty sure it's just like, oh, these are opened. You have to go find them. There really isn't like there's puzzle and stuff that you have to do to get in.
Yeah, you mostly just like see which weapon you need and then rent it.
Yeah.
That's true. I think you're right about that. Like the 2D ones don't really have.
Yeah.
You might need to go and find.
Yeah, there's usually something in the
3D ones.
Yeah, there's usually something in the 3D ones, but
yeah.
Yeah, or like you have to go save all the Zora eggs in Majora's Mask, or you have to. You had to do something to open up the Zora world in Twilight Princess, but I can't remember because it's like in the lake. And then
you had to unfreeze.
You had to unfreeze everybody.
Right.
And then one of the was the queen dead? So you had to do something for the prince, I think.
Yeah, I don't.
You talk to the ghost of the queen, I think.
Yeah. She gives you something.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the prince was like sick and then recovering in Kakariko, and then...
Right.
And then you had to, and then like by helping him, you like the queen would give you the Zora armor and stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I guess it's just more more of a mainline game in that regard.
Yeah, where you have like things you must do, then you get into the temple, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. In general, it's just more character driven than the 2D games tend to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is nice. Can we talk about music? I have a couple. How rude! Because the music in this game was so great. So I disregard your request to not talk.
Fair
about
enough. I think you made the right call.
I thought the music in this game was fantastic. Actually,
yeah, I agree. Yeah,
I think like also because of the Switch, it's like you can have more intense music than even the last 2D. Well, not the remake, but the last DS. Yeah, exactly. But also this game, because it had Zelda, it had a lot of Zelda stuff. So like the first thing that I noticed was like Zelda's Lullaby is in a lot of things in this game.
Like the overworld theme.
Yeah, like the overworld theme. So when it starts, what's interesting though is it's not always there. So when it starts, it sounds like this. So I have clips prepared that I made for you. So prepare yourselves. So the first one has like kind of the regular overworld theme, which sounds like this. I should have mentioned these are actually from a playthrough, and so they actually have sound effects in them too. But just so you're aware. So like at the beginning, it has kind of like the regular like do 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 do, and then it plays the like main theme for the rest of the game. But then once you get through the first two like dungeons and you save the king and stuff, and you're revealed in your identity, then it plays the Zelda's Lullaby at the beginning. So it sounds like this. They go into the menu, but yeah, so then it goes into the rest of the main theme, which is also cool. And then they also there's like a dark version that's played with when you're fighting the Echo, which is cool. So anyway, this it's really funny listening to that. I couldn't find a specific clip of that wasn't in someone's playthrough. So like it's really funny listening to their playthrough where they're like spamming like echoes and stuff, which is great. Anyway, and then they switch into sword fighter mode at the end, but it was just really funny. That part, I mean, that music also has some cool things like right at the beginning, which I didn't talk about, which is unrelated to Zelda specifically, but they integrated the sound that kind of sounds like the generated sound from like a Game Boy, like the old like kind of that like
I noticed that like chiptune
sound
stuff
in
going
a couple songs, like definitely in that part in that fight, but in some other Still World fights too, I think. But I really appreciated that. I enjoyed that part of it. I was like, oh, it sounds like a chiptune, but also Zelda's Lullaby, which is great.
Yeah,
everything about it is great. So yeah, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed those specifically a lot. Those specific times where I was like, oh, it's cute. We're Zelda-ing in our Zelda game, So
yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. Zelda's Lullaby is so simple, but they've done so much with it over the years.
Yeah,
yeah, including playing it backwards.
Yeah, that and like we talked a bit about like in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, where they like incorporated it into like the
in
like
the boss
Hyrule
fights.
Castle theme, and then in the like and like
the Hyrule
final and like the final like dive at the end of Tears of the Kingdom and stuff.
Not crying, you're crying. Yes. And it's also integrated. It's also, I think like Hyrule Castle theme is also integrated in, it's not in that specific fight, but I think like in the beginning fight, where at the very beginning of the game where you're playing as Link, Zelda's Lullaby and the castle theme are integrated there, I think, in that fight. So they did bring that back too, which is cool. I appreciated that. The side note, I didn't write down the specific credits, but most of the people who worked on this also worked on, like, the director was the director for Tears of the Kingdom and I think Breath of the Wild. They had worked on Wind Waker, like all the way through from Wind Waker, and then some of the other staff had worked on several Zelda video games, and then also like Animal Crossing and like New Horizons and stuff like that. So that's not surprising that they kind of incorporated. I feel like this game incorporated some more sound kind of like styles, like similar to Tears of the Kingdom. Specifically, I'm thinking of like
agree.
the Zora music, where they kind of incorporated that like woodwind saxophone-y kind of sound more, which was cool.
Yeah, and I think Kakariko Village kind of also gave me the same sort of feel, like Tears of the Kingdom, and
and like
and I think it's the they add more to it, like a flourish, I might even call it, to all the music, where it's that bass sound, but they are able to add all these other instruments to it to support it and give it a mood. I feel like more than just the original arrangement.
I agree. I mean, I think like this, of all the games that we've played so far, I think that this one has the most kind of like, yes, they drew from like the overall canon of Zelda music and brought back some of those like familiar melodies that everyone loves, like Zelda's Lullaby and the Hyrule Castle theme, and sort of like the beginning of the overworld theme. But even the overworld music itself in this game has like it's a different song than any other game, and it's like clearly drawn from some of the same like kind of musical, I don't know, like the concepts from other overworld themes in other games, but it's not just like the same thing rearranged, which is kind of like what was done in like what's it called, Link Between Worlds, which makes sense because it's kind of like supposed to be a riff on Link to the Past, right? So, and then same with like I mean, like Link's Awakening is like it's a remake, right? So like you would want to keep the same music but then modernize it, and this is like a new concept. I think a lot of the music has like new melodies, even for familiar places, like the Zora music. I think specifically the Ocean Zora music. I
feel like in general for a while the like Zelda kind of felt like it was like beholden to like the classic music, and like more recently they've been like branching out a bit more, like with the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and then this one. Which I mean they're great songs. I understand why they would want to keep using them,
but like it doesn't have to be. Like I think actually, so like the Zora music is a good example, which I will play a clip of in a second. But it's like still has the same vibes and the same instrumentation, like similar instrument like sound choices, like in say like Twilight Princess, from Twilight Princess on, where they use that kind of like harp. Actually, not even like from Ocarina of Time, like the original Zora music, and they call back to that without being the exact same melody. So I'm gonna play it. I think this one actually does incorporate some of the melody from original, like Ocarina of Time. That do 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 is really similar to the original. But then there's like some other elements later on top of it, like that noise that's happening and stuff, which is really funny, like a wood block.
I was like, I don't know what that is. It's like it's like sort of a bubbly drum sound. Which
I think it's a wood block.
Yeah, probably.
I have theory, or like that's the intent. I don't know if I mean, I still feel like these are all procedurally generated sounds, or like recorded and altered and stuff. But anyway, it's just Yeah, but there's still like that harp and stuff going, which definitely is very like Zora vibes, which is nice. And the Gerudo dungeon also kind of pulled from some of the stuff that they did in Breath of the Wild. So more so, they won't bring back the jams from Ocarina of Time, but much to my dismay. However, the temple music was really cool, so I'm going to play a sample of that. Similar vibes to the dungeon specifically, I think, in the Gerudo Desert and Tears of the Kingdom, which is cool. That like kind of tabla and sitar kind of instrumentation is pretty cool. I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, I really liked that one. That was the first. I mean, that was like the first area I went to when you had freedom, but it was the first track where I was like, ooh,
freedom. Let me play a little bit of the Still World because I think the Still World music is also really new and different. I think there's a couple of things that are interesting about the Still World music, which is like it brings back that like creepy chime kind of sound that's similar to the what's it called in Twilight? No, Skyward Sword, the horrible ones in Skyward Sword.
The Silent
Realm.
The Silent Realm. So it does have that like kind of chime noise, which is similar to the Silent Realm. Not the part where you're being chased by an enemy, but like the normal Silent Realm. So and some of the music kind of choices from Twilight Princess, like the Twilight, where it has that like decayed kind of sounding, like I don't know, like portion of the soundtrack, which is cool. Like so, kind of like even though it's like a new overall sound and like a new place, I think they still drew on some of the like creepy places from previous Zelda games and brought that in. Even kind of like the gloomy music also has that like decayed kind of sound, right? So so it's like fresh, but with these allusions to some of the things that you know, I feel like we're familiar with from our other Zelda games that we're all fortunate to have. We're fortunate to live in a world that has such a fantastic kind of collection of music. I feel like this is like the overall soundtrack for this game is very like, I think, additive instead of just like kind of like I said, like just reusing the content from other games, you know? So I really appreciate the like depth of the soundtrack in this game, I feel like. And there's also a shit ton of music. So I was trying to find the reason why I had to pull recordings from specific parts of the game that I remember is because I was trying to like find these specific like songs edited, but like just scrolling through the list was like Dungeon A, Dungeon B, like so there's also like quite, I think like I feel like there's just like a lot of music that's like available within the game also, so like it's the quantity also really affects your like play experience, right? Like you don't hear the same song over and over again. Having a Switch helps with that obviously, but I just feel like the content of video games is getting, it's more and more like there's so much more that they can do now that's like have either of you tried the Nintendo Music app yet on an unrelated note?
No.
Okay.
What is this?
There's a Nintendo Music app that's just like you sign in with your Nintendo account and they have like playlists of Nintendo game music.
Neat.
I haven't tried it. I have signed in, but I haven't specifically listened to anything yet. Yeah, it's a phone app, like it's a smartphone app. But we were talking about Animal Crossing specifically because there's music for like 10 a.m., 2 p.m., you know, like, and then like with the weather and how much different ambient music there is and how great it is. This came up the other day while I was at work. We were talking about it. So anyway, just a side note. But yeah, I feel like games, because there's like more space available on cartridges now and then music can be compressed and stuff, like I think you get like a really vast array of soundtracks with like little tweaks at different things are happening, which is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always my favorite thing when there's like alternate versions of a song when you're like doing different things. It's like there's the underwater version of this theme or whatever.
The best, like Banjo-Kazooie. Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, it's crazy when you go back to older games and it's like you think you're like, oh man, I love the music for this game, and then you look at it and it's like
5 songs.
Battle theme, dungeon theme.
I mean, I do like them. There's just way less of them, and they're like very static. And it's like, especially with say like Game Boy music or whatever, it's like it's just a loop of probably like a minute. You get like maybe, you know, an A part and a B part, and then it just loops back to the same A part if you're lucky, right? Like, and then it's all procedure, like it's generated sound too, where they only had like, I don't know, 4 different instruments, quote unquote instruments.
Yeah.
This game in particular is a really good showcase of like the modern capability of even, I mean, I feel like the Switch is like quote unquote an underpowered console or whatever, but the array of like sound and effects that you can get in video games is just pretty cool now. It's really exciting. I do want to talk about one sound effect in particular really quickly, which is, and like they revamped all the sound effects. So there's like the chest opening and like all the normal things that you have in Zelda, which is great. But I just want to talk about Try's sound effects because I really love them. So Try, and I think that Try's, let me just play your Try sound effects and then we'll talk about them. Here they are. I love them so much. It's like, I think that it's someone making noises with like a slide whistle. I honestly believe it's yeah. And I didn't think about it until I was listening to it, like you know, in preparation for this, like in isolation. I was like, man, someone is really voice acting the shit out of a slide whistle, right? Like, I mean, it's like
they're extremely expressive noises.
It's like it's so amazing. And like Try's
like
the whole scene, a lot of those were taken from like that last scene, which is why there's like background music too. They're taken from Try's goodbye scene, because basically every dialogue piece has like, well, it's kind of sad, isn't it? And it's like really, really funny, and I love it. And expressive, very expressive slide whistle.
Yeah.
Who knew that we would be?
It's very like R2D2 like, where it's like the noises are like, like you know exactly what the noises are saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just think it's great. That's all I wanted to say. Just props to whoever was recording noises for Try somewhere at Nintendo's offices. And like affected too, because it doesn't just sound like a slide whistle. I mean, it's got like this echo and whatever, like. But yeah, it definitely has this like slide whistle kind of vibe, which is really funny and cute. Try's very charming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that helps kind of give Try more character. Because like, you know, in contrast to say like Navi, where, I mean, I liked Navi, but people are right that the fucking hey is so annoying and it's constant and there's no variation. Try doesn't really tell you stuff, like doesn't point things out. Well, like Try will point out the warp points, but it'll be like ew, ew. Like there's no like it's not so annoying. I feel like it's like the right balance of like drawing attention without being over
it doesn't interrupt your gameplay, like walk past it if you want to. It's not like a dialogue box pops up to be like, hey, you can warp here.
Great.
Great.
Thanks, Navi.
Yeah.
And a little bit more expressive than like Fi, who I also enjoyed, but like the no eyes, you know, moving on the face, on the kind of human-esque face is like a little bit like uncanny, you know. I feel like I did enjoy Fi, but also I feel like Fi's a little bit creepy, right? A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's somewhat intentional that Fi
Yeah.
is like that. But
Well,
yeah,
well, Fi is a sword, so
definitely less easy to love than something
than
like
Try
Mm-hmm.
or
Than
Navi.
Try, yeah.
Yeah. Try is a. So the thing is that Fi is the embodiment, the spirit of a a weapon, of a device, right? I feel like it's okay to be a little bit more robotic,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try
yeah,
is like a little fairy that's like, the god sent me to fix all your rifts. It's like, I was created to help you. So better to have a slide whistle-y voice, I guess. A cute voice. Like, Try's meant to be cute. Like, and, I'm down with that.
This is only tangentially related, but I love that Try took a little while to like catch on that Zelda had a corporeal form.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, come over here.
One.
Oh, you can't go through the bars.
You can't do that.
Yeah. You're like, oh, the entrance is down here under the sand. Oh.
Oh. But I also like that later Try is like, I'm kind of nervous, but it's okay because we're together. Oh, you're cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like how Try also refers to, it's like, my friends can fix the rift or whatever. It's very charming. It's not just like, my kind are here to help or something, which is, you could you could write it very differently, and I feel like the dialogue is more like, yeah, my friends will help us. We're all in this shoujo anime together. Anyway. That's all I wanted to talk about specifically with music and visuals and stuff. I was just wondering if we should talk about our general overall feels and also rank this game in our rank list. Very important.
Oh, goodness. Yeah.
I shared our ranks with you because I definitely didn't remember mine. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I guess, I'll just start with, like, I really like this game. I think it's really cute. It was kind of like the right amount of effort, I feel like, for the, like the scale of the game, right? And it was fun and interesting to use echoes. I thought, like, the mechanics were cool. And it was great to play Zelda when we got to see Zelda's face. I feel like, I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I've probably said pretty much everything I've got to say about it. It's great. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. Yeah, I think that if they could make the gameplay a little bit more fluid, the menus a little bit better, and then maybe like expand a little bit more, and really I think what we said about the sword fighter form is the developers didn't seem like they were really they didn't commit. They were hesitant, and I think now that they've got it, they've seen what they can do. I want to see them commit fully to it.
It'd be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. I like it as is, but I do think there's room for improvement. It would be a lot of fun if they do another game in this style. And definitely another game with Zelda as the player character, even if it's not in this same style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. I would appreciate a game with Breath of the Wild Zelda, or like Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom Zelda as a playable character, but yes. Other than Hyrule Warriors, which does technically exist, but yeah, that would be fun. But
yeah, I like the more puzzly combat and everything. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
I can button mash with the best of them, but it is fun to sort of like, all right, how do I approach this one?
Or like, what do I have that I can use, or whatever, what's going to be good in this situation. I think it would be cool. It's probably not financially viable for them to do, but it would be cool if they released like puzzle DLC that was like extra dungeons or whatever. That would be cool.
Yeah.
You hear me, Nintendo? You hear us? Have you thought about how you would rank this game?
Well, looking at my list, I think that it's better than A Link Between Worlds.
I agree with that.
I'm so mad at myself for putting my niche cap so low.
You know what? This is a full episode. You can. I remember the last episode
and
we rearranged our list. Several of us made changes to our list. I remember in the last one. So if you can rearrange if you want, there's no rules.
I think it's nostalgia and thinking about it, I think
it's funny that you're saying you put it so low when you put it the highest of any of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
yes.
yeah, no, I'd probably put it at just above A Link Between Worlds. It's hard for a 2D game to compete with the 3Ds like Wind Waker.
Mhm.
Again, classic, Ocarina of Time, all those like, it's hard. So I think, but like as the 2Ds go, I definitely had a lot more fun with it than I feel like I have with a lot of the other 2Ds. It's definitely a nice change of pace, and I think they did it pretty well. The
Mhm.
stories, I think, and the world is more interactive than A Link Between Worlds, especially.
Mhm.
So I think that's a good place for it,
So you have
which would be number. Yeah.
for the people, this is what I have. So top was Tears of the Kingdom, then Majora's Mask, Breath of the Wild, Twilight Princess, Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, then Echoes of Wisdom, Link Between Worlds, Minish Cap, and the rest. I'm not going to read all of them.
Yeah,
I could, but you can see all these on our website.
It's like, man, we played a lot of games, you guys.
That's exactly what
Yeah.
I thought when I looked at this list. I was like, we played 17 games. This is now 17 in like 2 years or something.
Mhm.
I mean, I guess people do this all the time, but like, no, it's so many games.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've
We're also
never
like
played so many
analyzing
games in
them
my life.
and stuff, so
Thinking
Yeah.
a lot about them. Yeah, it wasn't just playing them. I mean, I played games.
Yeah.
Since I played like whatever, almost all of Wind Waker again since we recorded this. But I mean, it's still not the same. Anyway, whatever. Yeah, we did a lot. We played a lot of games.
yeah.
We did a lot of work, guys.
Yeah, I also think I'd put mine right above A Link Between Worlds, which puts it just under Link's Awakening on my list. I kind of think A Link Between Worlds is sort of like the platonic ideal of a 2D Zelda game, which sort of makes it not as memorable in a way. You know, it's sort of like, like it's a very good, probably like, I think like
Yeah, it's cute.
sheer quality wise, it's probably like the best of the 2D Zelda games, but it's not as fun in some ways, just because it doesn't have as much as the weirdness as some of the other ones.
Yeah.
I agree.
Which is why I'm putting Link's Awakening still just a little above Echoes of Wisdom, because I just love how weird that game is.
I agree.
Yeah. That's reasonable.
I struggled because if you look at my list, it's like Skyward Sword, then Phantom Hourglass, then Link's Awakening, then Link Between Worlds. So I was like, and is it better than? It's definitely. I feel like it's better than Link's Awakening for sure. Oh no. I struggled because I was like, is it better? It's definitely better than Link Between Worlds. Agree with both of you on that for the same reason. Where it's like, yeah, it's a great like 2D Zelda game. It definitely fixed some of the things that were like I didn't like about A Link to the Past, which is like the game that's kind of based off of. And it had a good storyline and it had a good mechanic with the wall being flat on the wall and stuff like that. So I appreciated all of that. However, I had ranked Link's Awakening higher than Link Between Worlds because it's funny, like Kayla said. It's like quirky and weird, and there's like weird stuff the whole time. And I like that about it, but I had ranked Phantom Hourglass higher than Link's Awakening. And when I was thinking about it, I was like, I think I did that because, first of all, I do think Linebeck is also funny. Like, that game is also weird and funny. And
It's one of the funniest games, I think. It's
yeah, it's weird and funny.
underrated comedy, yeah.
And then there's like, yeah, there's all the parts where Link's like falling out of the sky and stuff. Like, anyway, and then you get, I think I ranked it higher than Link's Awakening because while Link's Awakening is funny, it's a very straightforward like the game mechanics themselves are pretty straightforward. And I enjoyed Phantom Hourglass because I hadn't played that many. Like, I played DS games, but a lot of them were kind of straightforward. But this one used a lot of the mechanics on the DS of with the pen. Like, you have to play the whole time with the stylus. And there's like the mechanic where you like fold the thing in half, like you close it to copy the thing, and like you trace Zelda's path because the Phantom Hourglass and stuff like that. And I really appreciated the mechanics from that. And I felt like Echoes of Wisdom should be ranked highly also because of its mechanics. And so I decided that it should go above Phantom Hourglass ultimately.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Even though I think that Link's Awakening is a funnier game,
Yes.
I still think for me the mechanics of this game were like novel enough that I felt like, and it's like, I mean, Echoes of Wisdom is also funny. It's just like, it's not so like quirky like compared to Link's Awakening. It's very straightforward, like very, I would say like a very like earnest kind of version of Zelda where it's like Zelda's going out to fight the monster. We're going to do things together. We're all in this together. We're counting on you. Whereas, like, in Link's Awakening, it's like, are you sure you want to wake up the windfish? Like, I don't know. And then there's, like, all the animals, the one that's, like, catfishing the other dude and whatever. It's like, it's all, there's so much random crap. Like, it's really funny. But anyway, so I chose so Skyward Sword then, and then I was like, is it better than Skyward Sword? I don't think so. Like, it is really hard for 2Ds, and, like, the amount of content to compete with a full 3D game. Like, this is like a full ass 3D game from the Wii, right? So like it's kind of, you know, anyway, there's just way more content, and the Skyward Sword's also really funny. There's all like all the Groose stuff and whatever. So so anyway, whatever. So that's why I decided, but I did struggle. I was like, is it better than Link's Awakening? I'm not sure. I don't know. Anyway, but I think it is. I think the mechanics kind of weigh out in the end for me. Anyway, yeah, but I mean, all kind of similar opinions, where it's like it's pretty high up on the list for all of us. Yeah, you can change where Minish Cap is. It's okay.
No, again, I think that it's sort of like what you said about like Link's Awakening, where I like the vibe of it. I just the feel of the game, the mechanic I kind of like, but as a game itself, it probably is in the right spot. But like I just want that sort of the art style to come back. That sort of
Minish Cap is definitely one of the most beautiful games.
Yeah, and just like that the world kind of to come back. I liked Vati and that's the storyline, and I kind of want him to come back. So like, there's just like, you know, it's I think it's in the right place.
I mean, it's definitely a little bit of an orphan. It could definitely do with like a re-release on Switch. That would be cool.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they've done you know, Link's Awakening, so maybe someday they'll redo Minish Cap.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing between Link's Awakening is the Oracle's games.
Yeah, I don't know if they would re-release it because they were collab,
I don't
right?
know.
So I don't know. Maybe they would.
Them both. Yeah.
Minish Cap is a Capcom game too. I wonder if there's any,
I forgot about that.
Oh,
like
there might be
rights
a
issues.
Licensing issue. Yeah. Maybe
with the Oracle games and Minish Cap. Yeah.
That's possible. I don't know how they worked out there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, well, any more thoughts about Echoes of Wisdom? Have we talked about everything? Our gripes, our loves? Okay.
Yeah.
Now that we're done talking about this game, there's no need for us anymore. So we will return to the goddesses to slumber. This is where we part. No, that's not what you guys do. I'm ready to slumber.
I mean, I'm not going to say I'm not going to take a nap after this.
Yeah. I was like, I have to continue my quest of finding weird parting quotes for our thing. And I was like, great, this one's perfect.
Yeah, that's what we do. We just hibernate until new games come out. And then then we emerge.
We actually,
it's the life. I'd recommend it.
Yeah, we actually only exist when there's a Zelda game that's out and we're playing it, and then when we're not playing it, we don't exist anymore. And yeah, because we have to go back to the goddesses to slumber until we're needed again, until we're called upon to critically analyze another video game. Anyway, thanks for joining us for this adventure as playing Zelda. It was a fun time.
Yep.
And I guess join us next time when there's another Zelda game out.
Yeah.
With, like Kayla said, with Nintendo's current track record, we won't know until several months beforehand, probably. Yeah. So
there's a new Nintendo system on the horizon, so
that's what they say. Brewing. That's what people say.
That's what the word on the street is.
Anyway, okay, great. Well, it was nice talking to y'all again about Zelda, and thanks everyone for listening. And we'll see you next time there's a Zelda game.
Yeah.
Okay.
See
bye.
You eventually. Bowie says bye.
So to get a list of the accessories and clothing, I'm on an IGN website.
Mhm.
Well, IGN, and they have a tier list for the accessories, which makes sense.
Okay.
But then they also have a
'Cause
tier
it's
list
IGN.
for the clothes,
Okay.
and there's 3 clothes that actually have an effect. The dancing outfit, which makes your twirl wider. The silk pajamas increase your heart recovery while sleeping. Those are an S tier. A tier has cat clothes, and then the rest of them are split between A and D. But are they? Is it just like a list of
Just
like
based on
which
how
ones
cute
you think
they
are
are?
look the cool? Yeah, because like the ones that make you look like Zelda, like the customary attire and stuff like that, or that's below the green tunic. I'm like,
That's
I don't know.
not acceptable to me.
Right? Yeah, I don't know. So they have a little section that says "Don't agree, contribute to affect the community list." So you can definitely go in there and please fix this. Go to IGN, find this tier list, and update it.
Okay, whatever. I can't figure out how to actually impact this ranking. However, contribute to this list. Oh, you gotta make an account. Okay, I'll do it later because
Yeah.
I'm mad about this.
Thank you.
I need to make my voice be known on IGN. It's very important.